Hello, welcome to the Live Reality Games podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm back with more Surviving Reelfoot coverage. The season may have ended, but the post-game interviews have begun. And who better to kick us off than with the runner-up to the season, Storm. Storm, how are you doing today?
So far, so good. I've been looking forward to this one, so I'm excited.
Now, it's been a week or so since the game ended. How have you been doing since then?
Honestly, I think all of us, we have a Reelfoot chat that we all talk in, and I think a lot of us underestimated kind of the after effects of just going from one extreme back to your normal life because, like, you can't rely on any of the basic things you're used to every day, like not even a bathroom, not food, not a bed. So it's just like your mind is just in one state, and it's just like lying to people, planning camp life, and then just for all that just to go away in a snap of a finger, go back to your cushy life. It is an adjustment, I'll tell you that.
What was the most jarring part of that adjustment for you?
So like out there, you're constantly thinking about just one thing, like how can you get further?
He would like you to know he warned you about this.
He did. No, Pete did. He did. It's just like you go from one state of like, are people lying to me all the time? Trying to read people. So like, when you go back to work, for instance, the first day, it was just like, it was weird interacting with people, which I believe don't lie to me. Who knows if they do? But it's just like how people interact is completely different because you got that mindset still like, wonder if they're talking about me, or I don't know, just a little paranoia. It's an adjustment.
Now, did you share that you were doing this with your coworkers? Did they know you were going to go off to Tennessee to starve in the wilderness, or like and that's how you're using your vacation time? Did they know?
Yeah, so they actually watched. I told them about a week or so because I had to explain why I was taking off. I usually don't take off that much. So they were watching. A lot of them actually had some favorites that were not me, which they let me know. They made a little sign. Congratulations. They told me who were some of their favorites. I got a chance to talk to Sharif a little bit yesterday. Sharif was one of their favorites over me. So
Oh man, the
Sharif
dagger
there.
right there.
Yeah.
Well, talk to me about Surviving Reelfoot. From talk with production, it sounds like you had applied several times, and this was and finally you got cast for this season.
This was my second time applying. I was an alternate for last season, season 9, and they just straight up told me that the cast wasn't for me. They didn't think I'd be a good fit. Just apply next year. They really made it a point to apply next year. So this year, when it came around, or whenever the applications opened, Pete messaged me personally. He's like, "Hey, I hope you apply, whatnot." I did. Had my interview, second interview, and then actually, no, the second interview was a troll. You know what they did? I'm sure everyone else can tell you this. It's they get on, they ask you some questions. I believe one of the questions was pick a number from 1 to 100. So I picked a number I've used quite often, which is 26. And then they're kind of like, "Ooh, that's a bad choice. I wasn't expecting that from you." They just kind of make it seem like you're bombing. And then like, "You got casted." So it was pretty cool because I think I play like online Survivor, and I knew some people in the last season, so I think that kind of also swayed me away, which I'm happy about. I like the starting clean slate type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this cast definitely suited me better. You can see that as the season went on. I think the whole cast itself is strangely meshed very well together.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe aside from a few.
Who from last season did you kind of know?
Sarah and Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did you talk to them at all? Kind of like trying to get advice or words of wisdom about going into Reelfoot?
No. So I did what they told me. So Lydia tried to get it out of me that I was playing, and I was like, "No, I'm just going on vacation in Seattle." I just made up first thing that came to my mind. So I just no, I didn't tell them I was playing. So there were other people who played like Let's Live to Give in Minnesota. So I talked to Katie. She played out there. So I got some advice from her. Hypothetical advice. I never said I was playing. So yeah, I didn't go seeking as much advice as I thought I would, because after watching Survivor as long as I have, it seems the best strategy going in is to have no strategy, just adapt. So that's just kind of what my mindset was.
Because this is your first, mentioned you played online games, or this is your first live game, right?
Yeah, first live game.
So, did you do anything else to kind of prepare or prep yourself for the experience?
Honestly, no. I just, yeah, I really didn't do anything extravagant. I didn't play any. I haven't played any games recently online. It's just I've just been. I'm ready to just take it on. I'm somebody who can. I'm used to being flexible. Because I used to do AmeriCorps. It's a program where you travel. You don't know where you're going. You travel with random people. You live in random spots. So I'm really used to interacting with people, anyone, and then kind of living anywhere, expecting anything. So like I just took that mindset and I just kind of relied on it.
So it sounds like for the season, you're just like, I'm just gonna be flexible. I'm gonna be open. I'm just gonna deal with things as they come.
Exactly.
Now, did you have any expectations for things you thought might happen or would come your way during the game?
No, I will say they did very well with keeping us, because we always tried to speculate. I think the easiest thing to guess was like some challenges. As far as twists and stuff, and the living conditions, I knew, I kind of knew generally what to expect, but until you actually live it, like when you're waking up 3 or 4 times a night to build a fire so you don't freeze to death. When you sleep too close to the fire, and a lot of the Yellow Tribe knows, Kawanu knows, like first night there was a log sticking out, it broke, flaming log hit me right in the face the first night out there. But it's just funny because this is also the first night. I believe I was the only one able to sleep. Everybody else was struggling. Like I said, I can handle anything. So it's just kind of like once you're out there, it kind of hits you like shit. Maybe I didn't prepare as much as I did, but I think at the same time, you kind of like that's why everybody was so helpful, because Ryan was an Eagle Scout, so you kind of like looked to him to kind of lead the way. Keenan was very he really wanted to do the fire and stuff, so I gave it a little bit. He kept pushing me aside. I'm like, all right, take it. And I just kind of did what I was told, which I think helped because it kind of helped. I just knew once you get there, regardless of what's going on, you gotta get those day one groups going.
Now, I want to ask, like, what was your lecture item that you brought for this season?
So I'm gonna take the biggest L of the season for luxury items. So I bought this little deodorant, a travel size deodorant, which they said was allowed. I thought it would just be like, okay, so I don't stink too much. I don't want people to be disgusted by me. But everybody stunk the whole time and nobody cared. So like I see people bringing sleeping mats and then just these other extravagant items. I just like look like a dunce just wearing this little ass deodorant. So
if you had to go back in time, what would be your dream luxury item?
a sleeping mat. But yeah, because I saw everyone else. I was like, how the hell is this allowed? I didn't even think to ask. So I just went with the first thing. Try not to disgust people by my smell, because I know it's going to be hot. Probably run 3 to 4 challenges a day potentially. So yeah.
So let's fast forward to the game. So unlike past seasons where there was kind of a meet and greet luncheon before the game began, Pete's saying we would only allow so many sleeping mats. So clearly the key is be the first one to say you want to have a sleeping mat, and then you're set.
Gotcha.
So unlike past seasons where there was like a get together luncheon, this season there wasn't. The game just started, and you maybe had seen players, we had to interact with them all. And the game starts with a pick'em, because there's an odd number of people. It ends up being a tribe pick'em with different people starting off the tribes. Who picks you and who do you end up picking?
So this is funny. So before the game, I'll go a little bit before that. We all got sequestered into rooms, and Lauren walks in my room, and I recognized Lauren from Online Survivor, but I've never spoken to her. I've never interacted with her anyway, but I just recognized, and we still were able to have our phones. So I just like look at my friend suggestions. She's literally the first one that pops up. Same hat. It's Lauren. I didn't say, so I'm just sitting there like, okay, so she might know who I am, which she did. And we're not allowed to speak. We didn't speak. We made a brief eye contact, and that's all it took. So we were on the mat. Lauren actually picks me to join the tribe, which I was hoping, because I figured just by looking at Lauren, she was going to get picked pretty early, based on like first impressions. I feel like she was. She was. And she picked me, and I actually ended up picking Angela after Lauren. So it's pretty funny how that all kind of worked out. And then right after that, we go back in our rooms and I found this out recently, to get our stuff. Lauren shuts the door behind me. She's like, I got you. She says, the day one, I got you. I'm like, yeah, we're good. I leave. She goes across the hall to Angela, shuts the door, and says, I got you to her, which I found out recently too. So that's kind of how, it's funny how that all intertwined. The person I picked, I was the one that Lauren picked. We all kind of intertwined right away.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the other things that happens as soon as you get together in your opening tribes, you have to vote for a player. You're not told what you're voting them for. You just say, vote a player. Who'd you vote for, and what was going through your mind with that? Because you don't even know everyone's names really at this point.
I was so worried because my name stands out so much. Like, people will remember Storm, and that's a good reason to write my name down. I made eye contact with Lauren. She suggests we just vote for each other to offset. So like, she won't be mad, I won't be mad. But little did I know, I tied for first with KC. I kind of wanted it, and I kind of didn't, because I was like, okay, what if like they switch tribes? What if the two people voted go to like exile or something? I was just thinking outside the box. Never thought what would happen would happen. So Casey gets picked on the revote. I believe, yeah, he's safe at the first tribal, but he gets the medallion. I'm gonna call it the medallion. I don't know the actual name for it.
I don't know what the actual term is, but I put in the wiki as a medallion as well.
Yeah, so we went with the medallion, and I thought for a second, like, shit, because I was the second tied, maybe he was gonna put it on me, but he put it on Keenan. So I was happy with that.
Now, the medallion makes it so the player is going to receive a penalty book with the first tribal council, and you don't know how long this is going to last. So, did you have any initial thoughts or things to strategize around this disadvantage?
So, I don't think they showed this on camera, and correct me if I'm wrong, but actually, so as soon as he put it on Keenan, Casey kind of pulled us all together and said openly he wants this to work as an immunity idol. So, whoever has this, we shouldn't vote for. And that he put it on Keenan because he felt Keenan would be valuable in challenges around camp. So that kind of set the tone. Honestly, I think the whole game, the medallion only came into use once, and that's when Lauren went home. I know Keenan went home with it, but he was going home if he had it or not. So I think like it really didn't come into effect until the last time we were able to use it. So it was funny how that kind of worked, at least for our side. I can't speak for Blue, but yeah, I mean, it was interesting because it really was never talked about in the early voting. It was more like, because a lot of us wanted KC out first because we felt just, I don't know, we all had a bond. He wasn't really a part of it. We couldn't get him, so then it turned to Megs, somebody who really didn't talk to a lot of us day one or day two.
Yeah, so let's go back to this opening day in your tribe. Kind of walk me through your impressions of your tribe members.
So my whole thing going in, I just wanted to be, I'm not taking charge. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm not getting in the way of anything. I'm just doing what I'm told. I'm making small talk at the start and then kind of develop it from there. So that's kind of what I did. Like I said, Keenan pushed to make the fire. I was helping Ryan build the shelter. I was gathering wood. So it was kind of very relaxed. We all got along very well. Everybody on Yellow Tribe meshed really well. I think all of us did as a group. We're just having fun at the start. And plus, as you can tell, we got the better campsite than Blue. So our morale was probably a little higher than theirs. So yeah, it was just kind of like friendly, the honeymoon phase, we'll call it. Everyone's loving each other. And then, like I said, Lauren and I had that talk before, and I start the talking with Ryan. I really meshed well with Ryan to start. And then who else was there? And then Dina. Dina was she was the outspoken one of the group. She was which I love that, by the way, because I need to take the attention off myself. I always wanted there to be people with more attention on them than myself, and Keenan and Dina really helped in that first couple of days. So I think that was very helpful to me.
So you mentioned that you had this very quick strategy chat with Lauren at the get-go. Did any, like, of that first day, did you have any substantial strategy talks, or was it just a lot of let's get to know the people around me?
yeah, it's like, I got you. Let's just kind of talk to different people and feel them out. And the first night, a lot of us, there's a group of us that slept by the fire, and there was some in the tent or under the shelter. And we call it the Fire and Ice Alliance because we slept by the fire, but we were still freezing. And that consisted of myself, Lauren, Angela, Ryan, James, Keenan, and Dina. So it's the most of us, everyone except for Megs and KC, I believe. We all just kind of had it there. Keenan laid down next to me at one point, said he wanted us to work together. Obviously, you always say yes. Always say yes. I actually really like Keenan. I thought Keenan would be great for my game because he was so out there. So I really wanted to make sure Keenan knew I had his back. And then Dina, Ryan, and I kind of clicked together as a three. And then it became like Lauren, Ryan, Angela, and I. And I never really talked to Angela one-on-one until the second day. It was just together by association kind of those first few nights.
So it sounds like, I always hear for Real Survivor that, like, sleeping arrangements always matter. Like, you kind of want to look like who's sleeping with you, because that kind of gives you a sense of the connections. You're saying, like, that group all sleeping together by the fire versus the others kind of sleeping apart. That kind of, in a way, kind of molded those relationships, or at least it's a way to see where the game was going.
Yep, absolutely. That's kind of really what set the tone for that first big group. Just to kind of get us started. But I feel like a lot of us within that group kind of made it obvious that we were a closer knit group within that group. But I think it didn't matter early on, at least, because we actually, we won the first two. So our morale was kind of high. We had that big comeback win the first one. So we were all meshing well together. And it's just like, I don't think that part really affected. If we were losing, I think it would have made a difference. Maybe people would have flipped. Who knows what would have happened. But we were meshing so well that I think even being noticeably in a group within a group really didn't hurt us to start.
Well, on the first day, you have two rewards. Well, one-ish reward challenges, right? You start with the memory match challenge, right? Where you all get a bunch of small reward items. How was that challenge for you?
So I always thought it'd be good in memory. And like, I remember I picked up the same one twice back to back. It was Texas. I'll never forget Texas. I picked up Texas twice. I got a couple matches. James, got to give him the MVP for that one. James was killing it out there. And I felt like he needed that because he was kind of the one that wasn't picked. So, but even that didn't, like, that never even came up once. So I think it was good for James. I really like James. He really led us to victory in that one. I think mostly everybody made a match in that one, but James really led and we got a lot of good stuff. I think the bamboo is very helpful. So we were able to extend on that shelter a little bit. So I think we got, I think they got the tarp. And there's one other thing they got, like the grill. I think they got like a campfire grill. Those were like two things I think we really wanted that we didn't get. But everything else, I think we were pretty happy with what we got.
And then that evening, you learn that you're going to do an SOS challenge the next day. And you all don't end up winning this challenge, but it's an amusing challenge. You all create a giant duck. That ends up being your strategy.
Yeah. Again, I just let them take control of it. It's a reward challenge. It would have been cool to win, but I did like the idea. I think we all did a synchronized running around, screaming quack. But at the end of it, I guess the duck wasn't, we didn't put too many bright colors around it. It was just like the yellow duck and nothing around but some circles and us running. So after seeing theirs, I understand why they won. So it is what it is. It was reward. Nobody's gonna fight. I did see a lot of ideas bouncing off people's heads. Like Casey was putting ideas out there. Megs was putting ideas out there. So it's just like, I'm just gonna let people speak more. It's a reward. Who really cares?
I gotta ask something. So Keenan got the medallion from the get-go, and then he proceeded to just wear the medallion from the get-go.
He's wearing it right now.
Yeah, he's probably, you're right. He probably is wearing it right now. He'll probably be wearing it tomorrow as well. I mean, I was curious because at least I was coming in thinking like, man, I would want to like minimize the fact I have it, not be a target, but he openly kind of flaunted he had it. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
I think it really showed what kind of person he was. Like, he can just, what's a good way to put this? He can take a bad situation and kind of see the fun in it. He has a duck on him. We kind of like made like the bat signal we were talking about. So the giant duck in the sky, Keenan's going to come to the rescue. But I think he owned it. He had it for that first day. He owned it. It was his. We didn't have tribal for a couple days. So he made it his. And I respected that about him. I think I even said that in my confessionals. Like, he does not take it off. He's owning it. And he's not shying away from it. I think that kind of helped him become more likable, because people were talking about potential votes, and then Keenan's name was just brought up, and everybody was like, nope, myself included, did not want to vote for him. I think that has a lot to do with his attitude.
So more to do with his attitude than Casey saying we're not voting out the person in the medallion?
Yeah, I don't think we wanted to vote him anyway, but just seeing how he reacted with it, just his personality, I don't think any one of us wanted to just vote him out first.
So over the course of the second day, you compete in 2 other immunity reward challenges, right? You do the slip and slide challenge, and you kind of do the floor is lava challenge, where you're kind of going across the balance beams and trying to memorize patterns. And your tribe goes 0 for 3 for all these reward challenges. Talk to me about these reward challenges and maybe like camp morale or tribe morale as a result of this.
So the morning, we had fun with it. It was the water slide. I'm happy I didn't tip over, and I'm a big guy in the thing going. I was just like, take it easy. It was a lot of fun. I think everybody had fun with it. It was harder than we all thought, especially with the ring toss at the end. So that one, losing that one, I don't think hurt as much. It sucked because we didn't get to go on I think that was the boat ride. Yeah. Well, it was our second day there. Do we really need to go out and have that? Like, for me personally, I'd rather be at camp talking to people in that way. Just because like nobody's around. The only benefit could be like looking for a clue for something on the boat, which I don't even think they found the writer. I think it's still hidden out there to this day.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So, but the second one, I remember after the second loss, I sat out of that one because we figured balance, just have the biggest person sit out. So that was just kind of how we thought about it. So I just sat out because we still have one extra person with James choosing to be in our tribes. And then after that one, we got back to camp. We were pretty bummed. We were tired. Well, it wasn't even about losing any rewards. It's just the fact that, damn, are we going to like get annihilated in the immunity challenges? Like, we lost 3 in a row. They might not have counted for much, but it was disheartening at first. Just like we don't want to be that tribe to lose every immunity challenge. And come the merge, they're gonna just get us off one by one. So our morale was down a lot, I believe. This, in my perspective, after that second reward challenge.
So you end day 2 with your first immunity challenge, and this is kind of like a obstacle course challenge where you have to kind of bob and weave through a bunch of obstacles, assemble a ladder, race back, and do a puzzle. And it looks kind of grim for your tribe during this challenge because the other tribe is able to complete the course and get back to puzzle significantly a large amount of time before you, because you're treating, because I think the ladder gave you all issues, but I believe Angela's your puzzle maker, and she solves that final puzzle in 30 seconds. I don't know, in some record amount of time.
So we got through the course. We're at the ladder. Angela was on the ladder. She struggled, I think, with the last couple pieces, which it was confusing, especially if like you feel the pressure because we did lose 3. So you try to put yourself in her position. You're getting flustered a little bit. You lost 3. You don't want to be the reason you lose 4, especially the big one, immunity. She got it. We were all encouraging her to stay with it. She flipped one piece around. We got it. Casey jumped up there, got the puzzle. We all ran back, and I gotta give credit to Ryan and James on this one. So we dumped out the pieces. 4 of them landed right where they're supposed to go. Like, it was pure luck. Just boom, boom, boom. And then Ryan just yelled, like, switch the little piece, bump, we're done. I couldn't believe it. And then I look up, I see production's faces, they dropped. Look over at Blue. We definitely over-celebrated, which is something I thought, I've seen it on the show, and it's probably in poor taste. But in the moment, it's like, we thought we were going to get creamed in this one. We book it back, and then in like 15 seconds, we just solved this puzzle. And it was crazy. And it was probably the momentum shift for sure.
Definitely coming off a massive reward challenge loss and winning that first immunity challenge, it's a good feeling. Especially like you're not going to scramble that night. You can rest and just kind of work on relationships. It's a victory.
Yeah, we were all trying to like just play guessing games who was going to go out first over there. We knew that they had tribal in the morning, so they actually had to spend the night scrambling. And plus, like it got easier to do that overnight as the game went on. But when it's your first vote, it's probably not the easiest to sleep because nobody wants to be first out. So yeah, we were just playing the guessing game. I think we had some rice. Little small victory night. We had a good night that night.
So I think I feel like it's around the second day that the Fire Ice Alliance really kind of forms. Is that the formal event? Is that day 2 or day 3? I can't remember which.
Day 2. So
Okay.
Day 2, the first night we all slept around each other. We were talking little bits and pieces, but like when it was all collective, who's with who. Some of us felt, myself included, that James was kind of the wild card a little bit, potentially, because we saw him talk with Casey a lot, but he kept reassuring, he was with us. And this is when like we start idol hunting. We were terrible at making it not obvious. So I believe it was the second day or the third about the idol. So Ryan, Dina, Angela, and I are looking in the back, and Keenan as well. And Ryan just has a hunch. It's in the back of the back of the camp by the tree line, and I'm looking at him constantly because I'm looking at everybody. One thing I will say is I always made sure to just keep my eye on everybody, just to just make a mental note. Okay, they're talking now. Just always observing. That's just kind of something I really adapted to. So I was just like, more so than watching what I'm doing, I'm watching what everybody else is doing. So I feel like, so Ryan, I see him pull something out and he makes eye contact with me. So I go over there, Dina goes over there. Ryan has no pocket, so I take the idol. I tell him it's his. I put it in my pocket. We go for a walk. We open it up at the top of the camp. There it is. So Ryan, Dina, and I. Ryan found it. Dina and I were there kind of with him. And I think that solidified us 3. I know Dina, I think throughout the final 3 with Ryan, Dina, and I kind of right there. So that kind of brought us a hell of a lot closer.
So Casey found a clue to the hidden meat idol on day 1. I can't remember. Did he share it with you or anyone else in your alliance at some point?
Who found it?
Casey.
I actually didn't know he found the clue.
Okay. Yeah. So Casey got a clue in that memory match challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. At least that's what I have in my notes. So.
I had no idea.
Okay. So he didn't share it all. So you all just found the idol straight up, no clues then.
Correct. Yeah. Ryan said he had a hunch of where it was. And his hunch was right.
Now, one thing that happens quickly is the decision to tell Angela and Lauren. Why? So was it tempting to just keep it between the 3 of you instead of sharing it with the 5 of you?
So I wanted to share it with Lauren because I gave my allegiance to Lauren first out of everybody, and I wanted to keep her in the loop. But it's also, if it was my idol, I would have made that decision. But this was Ryan's idol. I can't be known as the guy who goes off and tell people other people's business. Then they're not going to trust me. So he asked, I think we all talked about, should we tell them? And then I kind of pushed, I think Lauren should know. We have to solidify a 4 within this big group, 4 within the 7. So that's kind of what we did. And then Ryan told Lauren, I went up to Lauren and said, did Ryan talk to you? She goes, yeah. Then they told Angela. So I think that really solidified us to be a lot closer.
Now, with the 5 of you together, there's kind of the remaining 4 players, right? You have Casey, you have Megs, Keenan, and James. Talk to me first about Keenan and James, because when I was actually kind of surprised to see this 5 not include James. I thought, because initially I'd seen it was the 6, then Keenan, then Casey and Meg. So I was kind of surprised to see both Keenan and James kind of on that liminal outside of this alliance.
Like we said, I think Casey took a liking to James, and Casey was kind of public enemy number 1 for us. So we weren't 100% sure. I know Angela and James were like this, and I know that they were day 1s. So I kind of thought that would help kind of keep James with us. I talked about voting for James later in the game. Like at Merck, James is incredibly smart. I had no intention of even saying his name early. I talked to Ryan, I believe, Ryan and Lauren, I think, about just, well, keep an eye on him.
Mm-hmm.
But Keenan, I thought would be a phenomenal shield because
Mm-hmm.
Keenan has a larger than life personality, and it rubs some people the wrong way. Just how he could be over the top at times, but I loved it. You could ask the people. I was always laughing. I always tried to make him do more. Like, he doesn't. Just I wanted him to show his personality. I wanted him to be up here, and then I was just kind of like, do this, do that. So like, I think before the first tribal council, we all sat around the fire, and I think I did see them have this on live. It's like, Keenan, do Gilbert Godfrey, do Sylvester Stallone, do Boston Rob, like do all these voice impressions. And I just wanted him to be the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to keep him as long as I could, just because he's a great shield in that sense for someone like me.
I want to dig a little bit more into Casey being public enemy number one. What really, what caused Casey to take on that role for you?
Honestly, it was, I think it was, for me, it was the speech about the medallion kind of being the idol, because I think it showed some people like he has a very good way with words. Like he can talk you into anything. Manipulating could be the word. I honestly don't think he was trying to manipulate. I do think Casey was being genuine, but it could come off as trying to manipulate because you give this guy a vote, and that's the last thing anybody wants, especially for the first one. Nobody wants that vote. You give him the vote, but you twist it in a way to make it seem like it's a benefit for him to have it, and it's a benefit to be passed around. And that comes off really strong. It might not have looked that way, but it's just like, if you can twist that and get a guy on your side that you just didn't care about getting a vote on at the time, it was a big threat for us. And then Megs, well, I'll put Megs in there too, at least for me. So I think Megs and I had the most awkward relationship out there because there was a time where us two kind of walked off to get wood. I asked, how you doing? Good. Awkward silence, picking up. Just go back. Nothing. And then it was just so awkward. I'm just like, maybe she doesn't like me. But then day 3, I was walking to get some white plants to put in the rice. I forget what they're called. And she follows me. She's like, can we talk? Sure. She's like, I've talked to this couple people day 1, these couple people day 3, and I'm glad I can finally get to talk to you day 3. I'm just thinking, wait a minute, day 3, am I that low on your list? So it's just like, I guess she wanted to take it a couple people per day, and I just happened to be that far down the list. So that's why it was easier for me to just jump on board. Because people, I think, forgot at first Casey was immune. Because I was doing the SOS challenge, we were making the thing. I was like, people throwing Casey's name out. I'm like, guys, he's immune. You can't vote him out. So then it went to Megs, who's, I think Megs got the wrong read, and Megs, correct me if I'm wrong, that Casey was kind of the center, because Casey was doing a lot for our camp. He was helping with the shelter. He was very vocal with the camp. He was very helpful. So I think he was, outside of her perspective, he could have been seen as like the leader. I think because she was blindsided when she went home, so maybe this group pact we made, we kept on a down low. I think it was obvious that some pairings were a thing, but I don't think realized that there was one big pairing altogether. So I think that was kind of a misread. Like Casey was kind of, we all wanted Casey out instead of him being the leader.
Well, even from like confessionals I hear from James and Keenan, I didn't get a sense that they realized that there was a tighter alliance like that. Like, I don't think there was much knowledge of that out there. So I think you all did a good job keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, because we always wanted to make sure we weren't talking too much. And one thing I noticed, and also I gotta give credit to Lauren here. I completely forgot about this. Lauren, I kind of approached KC after one of the challenges, I believe. And like I said, they can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of the story I heard. And Lauren kind of pushed KC to say a name, pushed KC on who he would want to go first. And this was after a reward challenge. And he pushed me, he said myself or Ryan. And Lauren came right over and told me, Casey saw Lauren talk to me, and then Casey said I wouldn't look him in the eye directly after. So I think that kind of I think Lauren may have planted some seeds there to kind of get a sour taste in our mouths about Casey.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't trying to do any. I wasn't going to be the 1st one to throw a name. I was going to take the name, go with it, give my opinion. If it is what it is, I'll go with whatever. But having that, I think Lauren did a really good job of planting the seeds. Because I told Ryan, and then we were like, oh, okay. And then Casey came to talk to me and was like, Lauren pressured me into this and that. So I told that to Lauren. So it really solidified Casey as kind of public enemy number one.
Yeah, because that first vote, it's kind of Casey trying to get at Lauren because he feels Lauren is a major threat to him at that point. And so she ends up catching those 2 votes that first tribal council. But before we get then, let's talk about the rest of day 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
You all do immunity action, but it becomes a reward challenge to start off with. This is you search for balls in the haystacks, and then you do the ball maze, right?
Yeah.
And the ball maze, were you on the ball maze for that one?
I was the runner getting the ball.
The maze is heavy. And y'all, this is again a super close challenge where y'all come back from behind to win.
So the controversy was, I think Ame, who was taking pictures, was on top of the ball, the last ball we were looking for. And I just think people just did not look. And we were looking up every other stack. And I think it kind of confused production a little bit. Mm-hmm. So Amos threw a ball out there. Obvious. We all saw it. Just threw a ball for us to get. I think Lauren got that one. Because we could not find that 3rd ball. And they had a good head start in the puzzle. But I think I want to say Carly really struggled with the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And then all of our people picked it up pretty easily. So I think the result would have been the same. Mm-hmm. But I do understand the call they had to make.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were frustrated because it's for immunity. But then we're like, okay, let's milk it a little bit. We'll get pizza. We got popsicles. We got we've got 3 large pieces of dry wood. So, and then they shuttled us back to camp with our water. So we milked it pretty good.
You all mentioned that you had kind of speculating guess who would go home first from the Unoga tribe. Did anyone guess Drew? Was that a surprise seeing him go?
I did. I'm the only person, and the reason I did because we were doing the balancing memory challenge. Mm-hmm. I noticed Drew kept running ahead back on the beam while they were all at the table. And I saw Megan, I saw Barbara, I saw Sharif looking at him, rolling their eyes, just annoyed. Mm-hmm. And it's just to me like, okay, it seems like he's giving them a very good reason to piss them off. Mm-hmm. I was like, Drew looks like somebody who'd be very good in challenges. So I think that shined a light. That's why we were kind of shocked that Drew would be the first one. But I remember saying he was really pissing them off during that reward challenge. So I think maybe he created a little divide for himself there.
What about Julia going home? Did you all speculate on that, or did you just figure out?
I think some of us were less shocked about Julia, just based on we only get to see them at the challenges and stuff. And I think we just looked at the tribes, and we kind of noticed. I told everybody because they walked back first. I'm like, guys, look who they're talking to. I mean, you have Josh and Sharif talking up front. So like, okay, they're talking. They're going to tribal. I think they're going to stick together. You see people just pair off. And Julia, was just kind of chilling back a little bit, which we weren't surprised. I don't think anybody's straight up said it's obvious Julia's going. But you can kind of see up ahead, like Josh and Sharif were talking. They're going to be tight. And you just see other people kind of talking ahead. And I told people, I was like, just watch them. If we get swapped, which we predicted would come soon, just watch them.
Well, so talking about the Idle Hands Challenge, this ends up being the real immunity challenge, and your tribe wins. How was that for you?
I got roasted pretty good. So Josh kicked my ass. I went toe-to-toe with Josh in the water slide. He beats me. I fell behind. I caught up. He got the ring first. So I had my second shot at him in this one. And I was like, okay, nobody tried this. I'm going to have him just come to me. Maybe he'll slip. So I I gave him the hands, and he was out there. He threw his idol up, smacked mine down. I was like, oh man, this is going to be, I'm going to get shit on for this. But then everybody else killed it. So I got carried in that one. They carried me in that one. So that felt really good.
So finally, we get to the last immunity challenge today. This was the maze one then. I'm trying to remember, looking at my vague titles of immunity challenges. Like, what was this one? What was the third immunity challenge of the day?
Oh God, That's all one blur. So there was the idol hands. So this would be the one that we lost, right?
Yes, this is the one.
Yes,
This is the one
this
you
was
lost.
the
You have to
I
like
want to say
use a
it's the
grappling
chicken
hook, and
wire.
then you have to move it to the chicken wire, and then it was the ball maze. Okay.
Yeah.
I did this challenge. That's why. All right. This is the opening immunity challenge for my season. So, okay, I know this challenge.
Yeah, so this one is frustrating. Because Dina, she's shorter, so she had some trouble putting it through the hole up there. But she did it. And I think they had a really good strategy. I think Josh kind of trapped it in the middle, did a slow squat down right in the bucket. They had a very good rhythm for that, and we struggled on that. And then the ball maze, nobody was talking, myself included. I think we were all just in the moment. We were behind. We felt the pressure. Just nobody was really talking. Everybody was just pulling each other. So we just, I think Dina came over and just said, try bouncing it. So we bounced them. We actually got it on the first try, bouncing it through the maze. Like, oh shit, maybe this could be a Cinderella story. But it didn't work out that way. That was frustrating how it ended. Because I've always seen that challenge, kind of the same challenge at the ball maze, and we got it to a certain point. We just couldn't get it through that last section. So yeah, that was definitely frustrating for all of us.
So I feel this vote has been kind of 3 days in the works, right? So, at least from the viewer perspective, like you kind of hear conversation of this happening early day 2, and at this point they've kind of solidified it's Casey and Meg's. Casey's immune, and everyone's kind of turned on them at this point. Although, at least for Casey and Meg's, they thought there was I think from their confessions, they thought it was gonna be a lot closer. They thought like, all right, we think we can sway some of these people.
Yeah, because Casey really pitched to me the fact that Lauren was trying to pit us against each other, which I think she was, but I just felt more allegiance to Lauren's alliance. Like I was not going to turn on that, especially that early. So, and then I think Megs thought we were doing Lauren. I think Keenan's name was out there as well, which is funny because we kind of all said Keenan was going to be immune, but his name was still out there for a little bit. It wasn't out there long. A lot of people didn't want to do it. And then it just, Casey came up to me and was like, would you do Lauren? Straight up. I was like, let me think about it. I didn't want to sound too eager because I didn't want to think I was lying. So then Casey talked to Ryan. Casey told Ryan to convince me. So Ryan pulls me and says, I'm supposed to convince you to vote for Lauren. We bullshit the whole thing. And it just ends up being Megs, which I thought she would have seen it coming, but it seems like she was kind of blindsided. Because I didn't think that we were that, like, we hit it that well, to be honest. Because I saw, like, Dina and Ryan walked off a lot. I feel like I talked with Lauren and Ryan a lot. Like, the same groupings of people kept walking off, and I was like, okay, it's pretty obvious, but what are they going to do about it? Ryan found the idol. We knew where the idol was. So why, if it's just going to happen, it's going to happen. But I really didn't realize we hit it that well.
So Tribal Council goes off of that hitch, ends up being a 7-2-1 vote with 2 votes getting put on Lauren. Who did you think was going to get marked when Megs was going out?
Angela. Because
why?
So Angela mentioned to us that she knew Megs from online games, and there's some bad blood. There was one game where they worked well together. Then the second game, it's just they, I guess, started this rivalry. Maybe some bitter feelings. So I think once maybe Megs saw Angela out there, maybe like the fact that you have some sort of connection, just maybe bring you in together, put the past aside kind of deal. And she didn't do that. But Angela never threw out Meg's name. Angela heard that it was Meg's. She told us the backstory, and she said she was not going to go on a limb and save Meg's. So Angela really wasn't the driving force behind this vote. So yeah, I think that it just looked that way to Meg's. So I think it was pretty clear Angela was getting marked.
So Meg's go home. Angela's marked. Angela goes off for something, right? I don't know, like, how much do you know about where she was going at this point?
So this was a little bit of a worrisome moment because Angela was waiting to hear about her sister having a baby out there. And the way that she was taken made it seem like this wasn't game related. So I'm walking by her, and then Mike, a tribe handler, comes up. He's like, hey, you got to come with me. He has his phone out with a bunch of texts. So she just goes. You could tell on her face she's like mortified.
Mm-hmm.
We we wanted to make sure she was coming back, so we offered we'll take your torch back for you. Like, no, she has to take her torch. So it's like, shit. We hope that she's not getting pulled.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Angela. I still do from the start. So me and her had a really good. After we started talking, we really clicked. So a lot of us were scared. I feel like that maybe, but there was also the fact that maybe it could be a swap or something,
Mm-hmm.
as she gets to pick the tribes. I think somebody did say that. So there was two different scenarios kind of looming.
So I think what happens is she comes back and says, hey, there's a swap and these are the new tribes. Is that what goes down, or you all get brought up and then divided out?
Josh and Angela had a meeting. They were able to have cupcakes and talk, which I guess they found out there was an idol underneath the table and none of them looked.
I would think it was the fake idol. I think the fake idol was appearing in a lot of different challenges until it was eventually found. And that
blew my mind, because I was looking at challenges, but apparently not in the right spot. But yeah, they talked about, I believe Angela described it as like, let's make it equal for both of us. So I think the first one was like, who do you want? So I think Josh said Sharif, which I'm not surprised. I guess I always saw them talking when we were walking back from challenges. So Angela picked me as the other kind of big guy out there to kind of offset it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he wanted Barbara. He wanted I forgot who else stayed there. He wanted Barbara for sure.
Yeah. So Josh took Barbara and Sharif for his side, and then he gave you all Carly, Megan, and Sebastian, and you all kept most of your lines. Actually, it was you, Angela, Lauren, and Ryan all together, and Dina, Casey, James, and Keenan on the other side.
Yeah, I was loving it. Because first I was pissed that Casey got away. It's like, man, if we have one more tribal together, we could have gotten them out. But I think that was a great. Casey was probably the happiest for anybody in that swap. This new opportunity, and I think James, Dina, and Keenan all realize it's now Casey's their number.
Let's talk about that. So yes, your tribe has 8, they have 6. The swap, especially an even swap, is going to could work out in your favor on both tribes. But Casey is a bit of a poison pill because you know what other side he's going to. He's just jumping ship, right? And so Angela has a lot of power in this decision, right? She's basically saying, who are the 3 people I want to keep safe, right? Because whoever you put it with KC is going to be in a lot of trouble. And ends up Dina from your lines the one that kind of gets that bitter pill and ends up going home for it. Now, let's say you were in that position. You get the ability to design your tribe. Who would have been the 3 you would have kept with you, and who would you put on the other side?
Honestly, Ryan and Lauren would have been with me. I would have had a hard time deciding between Dina and Angela. And as much as I love Angela, Dina, we shared the idol finding together. We shared that information. She, we made a pact. She wanted, from the start, she's made the insinuation that she wanted me to go with her to the final 3. So people that have me in their far end game plans is going to take priority at that time. But it also opened my eyes, because I think maybe I would have went towards Dina over Angela. Sorry, Angela. But I think after hearing Angela talk, I was the first person she chose. I could be wrong. That's how she made it sound. So that really kind of bonded me and her. I see her comment. She would have been swapped for sure. I think that really pushed me and her together even more, because she, I guess, had my best interest at mind, and she wanted me around enough to know that I'm on her side. So I'm happy that I wasn't marked, so I didn't have to make that decision. But I think it would have been Dina, Ryan, and Lauren coming over. I think that was the obvious 4 right there. So
knowing that your side in the swap, you, Angela, Ryan, and Lauren, you have a numbers advantage, right? I mean, there's some question of there could be an idol play, but you already have a idol, right? So there's going to be some protection from that. And the other side's going to be in trouble because you can pretty much guarantee one of Keenan or James or Dina are going home first, because Casey will likely jump ship. What was talking about the temptation to just throw the challenges from there on out, because you have some wiggle room to vote out the older Noga-medders.
So it wasn't a clear-cut thing, because Angela was marked, and if those 3 voted together, it's 4-4. And none of us knew kind of how the revote situation worked. We didn't want to chance it. So I also believe if you throw a challenge, karma will get you.
Mm-hmm.
Never throw a challenge. To me, it's as easy as it could be in the time. Throwing the challenge to me is just bad karma.
Mm-hmm.
So that never really came to mind. We were okay if we lost fairly. I feel because they started all coming up to us. But I do want to mention something, and this comes into play later.
Mm-hmm.
Before that first swap, Ryan makes the fake idol
Mm-hmm.
with the squirrel head. I believe him and Dina found the squirrel head. They make the idol. Ryan and I talked, and I came up with the idea, Ryan, if we get swapped away, give me the fake idol in front of everybody. Just give it to me. That way, I feel like I can use it. And if we stay together, obviously we'll keep it. But it's just a me and him moment right there. And I think that's why he didn't give it to Dina. I think it crossed his mind to give her the fake idol publicly. But I think for him and I, we talked about it. It was just kind of like, if we just give me the fake idol in front of everybody. I want to put paranoia in their head because who knows how this thing's going to go if we're swapping. So we had that plan beforehand, which came into play later. But it was funny because after the first challenge, I believe it was the first challenge after, which was the
fish challenge.
The fish challenge. I was one of the swimmers. We did the canoe. We finished it all. And then we lost. So walking up, I think we were going to fill up our water. Casey runs over to Megan in front of all of us and whispers, Ryan has the idol. So it seems Dina looked like she sold us out. She sold Ryan out, at least, over there. Because Casey went, and she said it to Megan in front of all of us. We were all looking at each other like, and that really pissed Ryan off. So I think that really ignited the Ryan Casey butting heads the rest of the time out there. So yeah. Talk
to me a little about the swap tribe, right? You keep your original lines intact thanks to Angela. And so tell me about getting to know Megan, Carly, and Sebastian, especially after that third night.
So I hear Megan's the fire queen. So we get back. Megan, she's pissed off that Keenan ruined the Flint. We're getting the fire going.
Wait, Keenan ruined the Flint?
Keenan destroyed Flint at both camps. He just went to town on that. It was
like he shaved the magnesium.
You talk to Megan, ask her about the Flint, because he just demolished it. Like there was so little, whatever you call it, left.
The magnesium that you scrape off, right?
Yeah. So that was just completely destroyed. And he did the same at the blue camp. Because later on, we'll talk about that when we got swapped back there. But yeah, so she gets a fire going. We get the tree mail about the canoe. So, and I have these terrible blisters on my foot. So I stay back at camp with Bash. So Bash and I got a chance to kind of talk and bond a little bit. And I really liked Bash from the start. And I was like, he gave me a lot of information in such a short time about who's running the game over there, who is kind of on the outs. And it seemed like...
Real fast interruption. So Dina does say that she did tell Josh because she was trying to do anything to get the work with them. So
no, I understand.
She took a swing.
She did. And I talked to Dina since, and she makes sense. Because I kind of did something similar, which we can talk to about later on. You got to do whatever you can to get back to stay safe, especially if you're swap screwed. That's just my philosophy. So Dina, you did what you had to do. I think you did. You had to make yourself valuable. I think she did a good job of that. But I think there's some other factors which we'll let them talk about what happened there. That I don't think it's my place to talk about. Why it didn't work out there.
Back to you and Sebastian, because you kind of noticed him to the get-go, and you have that conversation back at camp that night.
Yeah. So I heard that it was like originally it was Megan, Barbara, and Sharif, kind of the close three over there. Josh wiggles his way in. Megan kind of phases out of that. So he kind of makes it seem like it's Josh, and then Barbara and Sharif, just kind of the three. And so I kind of think that gives me an idea for later on. But he's kind of telling me the hierarchy over there. Carly was kind of on the outs. Bash voted for Megan at the second tribal. Bash told me how he kind of had it out. He had a fight with Josh and Sharif about some things. So he was like just spilling it all. I think he wanted to let us know that he was kind of on the outs over there. I think that was Bash's best move. I think people are going to undermine Bash's game. I will be a Bash advocate right now. Him doing that really set himself up to not to put himself over a lot of people, especially within the original Kuwano.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bash and KC kind of have similar trajectories, and both of them kind of end up on the outs of the original tribe, swap over, and really like that. I think that Bastion's crowning move is, we'll get to it later, is he survives those 2 votes from the worst minority position you can possibly be, which is just amazing to witness.
I gave him so much credit. I was like, later on, because I didn't expect that when I got swapped through. I thought Bash was a goner. I was saying it over and over. So, I mean, him doing that was really impressive. And he has, like, when I was talking to him, I felt an instant connection with him because he was himself. And you can tell he was himself. He wasn't trying too hard. He was being Bash. And Bash is out there, man. He's a character. Like I told you before he came on here, like, he would be CBS's dream come true if he ever applied for that show. Just by his entertainment value, but he's so genuine in who he is. I felt that connection. He was just telling me things. I was telling him nothing. Why would I tell him anything? So I really bonded with Bash that first night, which I think helped him, at least for that first vote.
Well, I'm curious because, like, I guess we'll talk about the immunity challenge, right? So the fishing for immunity challenge, right? You said you were the canoers getting the fish. I think one of the most heartbreaking things of that challenge is that your tribe is like 2 swap letters away from winning from the get-go. I can't remember what the phrase was, but you
victory at sea.
Victory at sea, right? And you said
what'd you seat of victory or something like that.
See at victory or something like that. You just have to move something around, and then your tribe's like, well, shoot, we must be wrong. You just remove victory, that word is gone, and then from there you never have a chance to solve it because you're like, it can't be victory.
Angela and Ryan were so pissed because they knew it. But Bash, one of his things, we're all talking about strength when we first swapped. One of our first conversations is, what's everybody's strengths? And Bash said word puzzles and word scrambles. He said that was his specialty. So as soon as we all looked at it, all right, Bash has this in the bag. So I think we all talked about it. Angela maybe should have been the runner. Lauren should have swam. And we would have had Bash, Megan, and Angela on that. And I think the result, because we were way ahead of them.
Yeah.
So, and we had that first phrase relatively early, so it might have gone a different way.
So, let's see. Yeah, so you all end up losing, which you didn't have to throw a challenge. You're protecting Dina this way, so there's some benefit from this. And so what I find really fascinating is because it felt like, from what I saw, the strategy seemed to be the decoy, the safe vote strategy, where you float out Megan and Sebastian's names, so the minority thinks that they turn on each other, and then you vote out Carly because no one's going to think of voting immunity out for Carly, and it playing out idle for Carly, and it seems like kind of ended up being that way. But what fascinating was Sebastian voted with you all for Carly, so kind of walk me through how the strategy for this vote evolved, why Carly of these 3, and how did Sebastian ingratiate himself so well?
I was pushing for Megan. I wanted Megan gone because I could just see it in Megan. If she just keeps going, Megan is going to be a beast in the future. And I was predicted right. So let the record show. I wanted Megan. But I think Megan had something with Lauren and Angela from the start. Girls bond, potentially. And Lauren was also kind of pitching like the idol. And it's like, I reevaluated it because I was pushing we kind of butted heads at first. Like, she wanted Carly because it's easy. They're not going to play an idol for Carly because she's on the outs. Me, I wanted to keep Carly around because it seemed like she was on the outs. Why not use it? If we swap again, we could be in a good situation. But I also wanted to make it a point to let other people drive the boat. I don't have to lead these votes. This vote, I looked at how important is it to like potentially lose some trust with Lauren just to save Carly. It's not important at all. So we kind of went with Carly. Bash was just paranoid that there was going to be idols played. Bash whispered to us right before Tribal, I'm voting for Carly just to throw a vote. He had no clue what we were doing. This was Bash just throwing a Hail Mary.
Thrown vote?
He just threw his vote right on Carly, and it turned out to be correct. And Megan and Carly thought it was Bash. I even think in my voting confession, I was like, I can't always. I have to let somebody else be in the driver's seat. And I'm not going to risk my relationship with Lauren over Carly. No offense, Carly, but
Mhm.
even though I really did advocate for her to stay because I knew Megan was going to be a force. This was the time to get Megan. So
Wow. Okay. So interesting, because all I saw was the voting outcomes. Like, wow, I wonder how this changed that Sebastian got. The majority of the answer is he was really good with throwing his votes.
yep, he just threw it. Unless somebody else whispered it to him, I don't think that happened because he whispered to us, I think Lauren and I,
Mhm.
that he was just going to throw his vote on Carly just in case of crazy idol situations.
Yeah. So, were you surprised that Angela got marked after this?
I was. So my strategy with this, and it could be a stupid strategy, I don't know. Every time you vote someone out, look them in the eye. Don't shy away. Like if you're looking at me, I just voted you out. I'm
Mhm.
just gonna own it. You know, I'm looking you right in the eye. I'm not gonna do this. You know, just avoid eye contact. I think that shows I think that's a different vibe. So I looked Carly right in the eye because I thought maybe I did. Because I looked at her at tribal. I said, like I whispered just to keep her. You know, it might have been unnecessary, but I had to, you know, just wanted to make it believable in case she had an idol, she could save it. So we all know who has idols.
Mhm.
Um, so that was kind of the thing. I was shocked Angela got it. I don't know the reasoning behind it at all. I don't know why, but I remember I just wanted to like make eye contact with her, don't shy away, and maybe that'll just mean something. I don't know. It's just in my head what I thought I had to do.
So we started with a cast of 17. We're now down to 13 players. So you could probably feel a merge looming in the near future. Like at this point, like when do you think it was going to be?
We thought merge at 12.
Mhm.
Um, and a final 2 with 9 jurors. So I think that was the main. I think that was the big theory. But I think Lauren and James. I think I'm going to give credit to Lauren. Noticed that there was 10 torch holes at tribal.
Mhm.
So maybe the merge was just 10. So it was 12 or 10.
I feel like people said the exact same thing last season. I feel like they might have used the same prop from last. I remember hearing players speculate about that. Production will have to correct me. I think some players. I think that's just how the prop is. I don't know. I'm not gonna go back and listen to the ones from last year. I'm pretty sure people were saying the same thing. Just like I saw, there's only 10 torch holes, and therefore I knew it was being merged at 10.
Yeah. So I think that was. But it's like I thought it's too good to be true.
Mhm.
It's like that it's not obvious, but it turned out to be 10. But
Mhm.
I thought a lot of us thought maybe 12. But little did we know we were gonna get
Okay.
bamboozled.
Yeah, Lydia says last season they counted the stuff. So I remember there being
Okay.
some weird way people were like, "Oh, how can it be?" based off numbers at Travel Council.
Yeah, we were just trying to get anything because we all like pre-marriage is exhausting. Even though it doesn't really last that long, it's still exhausting because everyone's goal is to make them merge, and then you have to swap. You all know where idols are. You know they have to be found by now. It's just like a lot of factors.
Should they?
So
Should they really?
they should be, I think, but maybe not. Maybe not.
So Megan's just been blindsided. Sebastian has been quasi blindsided by voting the right way. Talk to me about like the strategy afterwards. Was Megan just a dead man walking at camp, or was there a serious debate between Sebastian or Megan? Like, who should we keep?
I wanted Megan gone. I think it was mutual throughout the rest of our time together. Just kind of like I thought Megan would be the next best move because it seemed Bash was on the outs over there. So why, like, if they had idols, they would have played it. Because I feel like Megan felt uneasy. They probably all three of them felt uneasy, but there were no idols played. So it's okay. They mentioned about the 3 over there. Maybe they have it between them. Who knows? And we kind of just based on it, we thought Josh seems very intelligent. So a lot of us were guessing Josh had the real idol. Potentially Sharif or Barbara. Like we just thought it has to be there. These guys didn't play it. I'm like, okay, now that Lauren kind of got her way, you know, let's give a little love back here. Let's get Megan out. So that was kind of what I was going to push if it got to that point.
So Angela finds a mutiny advantage, and does she tell you about this?
So this is where karma really played its course for me. So she finds it in the challenge, the trivia challenge, I believe, with the sprinting and the basketball. She finds it at her station.
The Pizza Palooza?
Yes, I believe she finds it there. I could be wrong. Angela, correct me if I'm wrong.
I thought she found it back at camp by the water or something like that. Because I remember seeing a video of her like, this is where she sneaks into Keenan's bag or something like that. We'll have to have Angela correct
Yeah,
this.
because Keenan wasn't with us at that time. So I think she found it at a challenge. So we'll go with that. But she does tell me about it. I'm like, let's get Keenan back. Because I feel like he's the next to go over there.
Okay, so
Scramble.
Angela found it at the challenge. The word scramble challenge.
Okay. Oh, okay. See how observant I am. But I was suggesting maybe either bring Keenan back if he's still here, or don't use it. Because I felt like, because Dina just was gone. I ran to save Storm's life by grabbing his water, and it was tied to our water bucket. Oh, funny, because I did pass out during that challenge.
So the people is that we have to run, answer trivia questions, run a lot, answer trivia questions, then throw a very light ball into a tall hoop, which was extremely difficult from what I could tell. And so, talk to me about this. It sounded like it was just very taxing.
So we were exhausted from the morning challenge. Like, I had the second farthest out for swimming. So I was exhausted. Ryan, I know everybody was exhausted. So we were all just pooped. So I took the easy run, the number one spot, which was the trick trivia question, which I believe was, what color is not a male black widow? So I picked every answer but black, because who knew they weren't black? So I had to run back 3 times. It's so hot outside. And I'm already exhausted. And because after the second time, I just went right back, because you had a thing where you can alternate. And so I wanted her to rest up because she has to go a little farther than me. I was like, I'm just going to run back. I know the answer now. I grab it. I come back. I'm exhausted. We line up to shoot. And it's so hard to shoot this damn ball into that back because it was so light. You had to find the perfect strength, find the direction the wind's kind of going. So I make it first before Ryan. And I was just I think my body just called it quits there for a second. And I was out. And then Angela got me water. They put through a towel on me. So that's when she found it, ironically, was when she was coming to give me my water. It was just tied to our water. So I thought that was that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I thought she found it in her box. That's interesting.
So your tribe wins this challenge, right? Yeah. And so
that's when Dina goes.
Yeah, this is where Dina goes home. Did you think Dina was dead to rights there, or did you think really this was Keenan or James were going home? How surprised were you by the outcome?
I was shocked. I think we were all shocked because Dina is so social. She's a great talker. She's good at, I think, making connections. But I believe her and Josh knew each other before the game. I think this is what I was told by them, was Josh didn't think that was fair that he knew her. So that's kind of her demise. That was the backstory. But I thought it was going to be James or Keenan.
Josh is living the villain's dream is what he was doing.
Exactly. So Josh, I didn't know. I knew that they knew each other because I caught them on one challenge talking, and Dina, I smiled at her. I was like, because I caught you talking, she explained it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And she was actually talking get on Josh's side or something. So she fully trusted Josh. So I think even she was probably shocked by that. But I thought it was going to be Keenan or James. So you're down to 12. I think people are anticipating merge because both tribes are called in. I don't remember exactly how it goes. Did Amos do the whole thing out, drop your buffs, we are swapping? Is that what he does, or what? How does that go? He goes, drop your buffs. We're switching it up. And everyone pulls out. I see blue, I see yellow. I'm like, oh no. And then, of course, I pull out the blue buff. But it's funny because we're walking up to the mat. We all tell Angela, go up to Keenan in front of everybody. Give him the mutiny. Tell him to come to us. Mm-hmm. He gets the mutiny. He reads it. He doesn't do anything yet. But then he announces, I'm barking, Keenan, use it. I'm saying it out loud. Then Amos is like, drop your buffs. We're switching tribes. I go on the blue tribe with Keenan and KC and Barbara, Sharif, Josh. I'm looking around. I look at Casey. He still has the mutiny. And he goes right back home. Josh uses his mutiny, comes back to blue. And I'm just like, man, that is the worst possible scenario. But going back to what I said about Ryan, I go up to Ryan and I'm give me the idol. So he hands me the fake idol in front of everybody. And Sharif and Josh are looking dead at me.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan passes me the idol clearly. And Josh's like, you gonna show me that? I'm like, maybe later. So I put it in my pocket, and that's kind of how that seed kind of started to get planted over there.
So had you and Angela known that there was going to be a swap, and you were going to be on the true minority in the other tribe, would that mutiny advantage have made its way to you instead?
Angela, if you're watching, I hope you say yes, but I do believe she would have given it to me over Keenan if she had that choice.
Yeah. I mean, it ends up being a ill-fated advantage in Keenan's hand, because if had Keenan stayed on the blue tribe,
he might have had a better shot.
Would have been here, right? Just because his tribe might have been able to win out with him on it. And so I don't know. It's hard, but like, so you have this very public handoff with Ryan, right? Yeah. At the very least, Josh Sharif sees, if not everyone else, that you are getting something. Talk to me about the experience at Casa de Anoga. I don't know.
Unoga. I have the buff right here. Their camp sucked, and it's not to their fault. There was just location. They had nowhere to build. It was literal hell, let me tell you. It was just, oh my God. That was probably the worst night of sleep I've had in a long time. And I thought the idol was gone. I know it was still. I would have been running in the woods looking for that thing, even when I was showing people my fake idol. Because
Megan has the idol, of course.
Yeah. So before that, we had the challenge. I'm just hoping they don't throw it, because I'm the easy out here. Casey probably made himself clear that he didn't want to be with us, so we won it. We go back. So Megan and I were able to go back to yellow to get our stuff, and vice versa. So I'm walking with Megan, and I show her the idol. I tell her it's real. I show her on the walk back. I show her at yellow camp when we're getting our stuff. I open it up. I show her. She read the note and everything. So I had Ryan's pouch, real pouch, and real note combined with his fake idol. And I was like, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm playing this for myself no matter what. Nobody can convince me otherwise. Let's use it to take out someone else. I think that worked a little bit. I really want to say it worked, because we get back there. I start talking. I talk to Sharif one-on-one. I talk to Barbara. I talk to Casey, the grand reunion there. I'm telling them all about the idol. Barbara, they read the note. I think there was doubt that it was fake. I will say I think they may have split the votes a little bit on me and Casey, I think it was. But anyone who's watching, Sharif, Josh, Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it would have been Casey gone first for safety reasons. I want to say that. And if we lost again, I think I was dead in the water. But I think planting that doubt gave me a little bit of life, at least potential paranoia in their eyes, if it was potential. Because remember, KC went up to Megan and said that Ryan had the idol. Ryan passes me something publicly. So that's just kind of where the mindset was. Ryan was fine over there. Look at he was with people he's been with since day one. He got James and Keenan back. So he's just like, he's not going to need it. So if you look at it from his perspective, if he really liked me that much, he could afford to give me his idol to hold on to. So I really used that when I got back to that camp.
So what's interesting about this new tribe for you is now you've officially met all the remaining players in the game, right? So kind of talk to me about Josh, Sharif, Barbara. What was like meeting and strategizing with them?
It was different. So one thing I did, and I think this caught up later in the game, was I wanted to make Bash, the remaining blue over there, public enemy number 1 for them. So I wanted them to need me in a merge. I was playing ahead. Maybe I'd emerge. It seems like, look at all the yellow versus blue left. Yellow had the upper hand. So I was like, I could be your in. I was like, I don't feel, no, because KC was kind of saying that the girls are running things over there, meaning Angela, Laura, and Dina were running things, which makes me look like I'm not in control. So I elaborated on that. I really talked up on that. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm in their end game plans. I think I'm just a number for them. I'm willing to make a move at merge. Here's what Bash is saying about you guys. And I came up with the nickname, the Holy Trinity, saying that he was saying Barb, Sharif, and Josh were the Holy Trinity. There it is. Barb. And I really played that up. I was like, Bash says you guys are running it. It's like a dictatorship over here. You guys say that's what happens. And I really burned the Bash's bridges with these guys just in case of a merge. I was going to go back to yellow no matter what. I was going to go back with my day one people. But I wanted, I thought Bash was going to go home. I was shocked he survived those two. Like I said, very impressive.
So you mentioned that you wanted Megan out. You wanted Megan out 2 rounds ago. And now, how much is Megan a lifeline? Talk about your relationship with her. Does that change at all in this swap?
I needed Megan now. It went from like I had a support system. If Megan was gone, I'd be okay. But this, I'm just in straight survival mode. I'm in no position to try to get anybody out. All I have to do is survive. And at that point, I had to push Casey because obviously he was the known on the outs. Like he probably made it seem like he was on the outs for yellow. So they know that me and him, that bridge is burned, it seems like, potentially based on what he's saying. That just went through my mind. He probably said some things. He wasn't happy with us. But he made it seem like the women were in control over there. So I think that kind of helped me. And then that's when I saw this opportunity walking along with Megan. It's like, hey, this is me showing you. Let's have each other's backs. Don't go running back to blue and vote me out. Let's choose something here. Maybe pulling KC.
And what was your reunion with KC like?
So it wasn't that bad. So Casey and I talked briefly after the Megs vote, and it was kind of just like he understood. I think I just kind of told him it was the majority. I had to do what I had to do. I'm not in control. I didn't want to, I'm not voting against majority. That's kind of how I pitched myself. I think he bought it for a little bit. And I was hoping in this situation he would see. I actually wanted to work with him for a vote to kind of vote. So I was pushing, I think Megan, so the original stories, I've heard Megan was close with Barbara, Sharif. Josh kind of took her spot. I remembered that from when Bash told me. It could have been true, it could have not been true. So I kind of pushed me showing her the idol as maybe we can get Josh, force a tie. Because if you're on the outs with them, you can go back to yellow. You've made bonds with Angela and Lauren. I'm sure they're gonna need numbers at some point. So if you are confident in that relationship as opposed to the relationship that kicked you out, maybe coming together, like that could be her best move. So that's why I wanted to show her, even though it was fake, I wanted to show her like I trust her enough on this walk back. Maybe let's try and force a tie or something if we lose. So it's not just those three picking off us three.
Jumping ahead a little bit, do you think this factors into Megan's choice to vote with y'all at that opening merge vote?
I don't think so. I think Megan went back to her relationships with Lauren and Angela. And I think the writing was on. I don't think she wanted Josh in the game as much as I think we all knew it was going to be a blue OG going home at that point. So I think she was going to do that. Regardless, I did develop a better relationship with Megan once we did swap. I think we both were just bonding over the fact we went from the Taj Mahal to a dumpster. So I think she was more pissed because imagine you're at blue.
She got away and she came back.
Exactly. Like you're at blue, you hate it. You go to yellow, obviously a much bigger space. And then you go back to blue. It's like, shit. It's like, I'm back. I don't want to be back. So I think she had it the worst, potentially.
So,
yeah.
One of the things we haven't really spoken about is the elements in that aspect of the game, because it's now day 5, and I don't remember what days it did rain, but it was like days 3 and 4, and I think 5 kind of had off and on rain at certain points. Didn't seem like it was consistent throughout the day, but there was a large periods of downpour that you experienced. Talk to me about how you handled that and what that was like for you.
So there was one downpour at the yellow camp when it was after Carly left. We were sitting under the shelter. Our tri-panelists were nice enough to do kind of shout outs from the audience. So that we actually found out then, Angela found out her sister had the baby. So people were getting shout outs from familiar names in our lives. I think Megan's brother, and then Angela's sister called her aunt or something. So she started. So it was kind of a cool. That was actually a cool moment. It was cool to see people just like. I genuinely liked everybody. I know that's cliche, but like as people, you could tell everybody was just a good person, and like we just had some downtime. It was shitty, and it was just cool to kind of see. Angela's happy. You see Megan light up a little bit because of her brother. So it's like it takes away from that. But at Blue, let me tell you, oh God. So I'm already feeling miserable because I lost everybody I was close with on the other tribe. I'm sitting there, I'm lying through my teeth to everybody. And then it starts raining. The shelter is terrible. My feet stick out of the shelter the whole night getting rained on. Because I think Sharif and KC kind of felt the same pain. So like it was KC, we lived like sardines. It was KC, me, Megan, Sharif, Barbara, Josh. And we had to like announce when we were turning. So it's like on our backs, turn, side, turn. It was just miserable. And I hated every second of it. And it was raining the whole night. Because otherwise I would have tried to sleep by the fire. Because that's what I did at the yellow camp. It was just awful that day. That was probably the lowest point of elements catching up to you I personally had out there.
So day 5 goes well for you, right? In that you don't go the tribal council. The first challenge is an endurance challenge where you have to hold weighted bags above your head, and you have to, I think periodically people step out of the challenge and to pass it off. And fortunately or unfortunately, your tribe ends up winning a little bit of a technicality because Angela's arm drops in a transition, right?
Thank you, Angela.
so Angela did what Angela preserved your safety is what happens.
Legend.
And at this point, you probably are expecting Sebastian is a dead man walking, right? And so you get back to the next mini challenge and talk to me about your reaction seeing the Kawanu 3.0 come in.
I was so shocked that James was gone. I see the angry reaction from Angela. Thank you, Angela. You saved my ass. I saw James was gone. I was just shocked. I'm like, and Brian winked at me, and Lauren smiled at me. I'm like, well, at least they're somewhat communicating with me, so it doesn't seem like something bad's going on. We're like idle play. Did Bash have one after all? Did he pull out the biggest blindside? I don't know. We'll have to find out. They told James who was going because I think they saw value in Bash. Which Bash, again, I will preach this to you. That was phenomenal how he did that, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. I think he should have sold that a little bit more later on.
Was waiting in his final jury to say, "You want to see social game? That's social game."
Exactly. Even though he's out there, he did that, and I will always have respect for him for that. So I think they saw something in Bash that could help them because it seemed maybe Bash was still like, even though I made up the name Holy Trinity, I did not make up the information he was leaking. He was initially saying those two were in charge. I think he just kept that narrative. And at that point, maybe James was maybe they thought James maybe had a side deal. People knew James was intelligent. James, you could tell in James he's very intelligent. Maybe they saw an opportunity before there was a merge, maybe so he can't play both sides. So I'm thinking maybe that was the rationale, because I understand they told him the night before, and he had to sleep it through the night,
12
knowing
hours
he was getting voted out. Because I think they thought they were going to tribal, got called off, they had to go in the morning. So I love James as a person. I was shocked to see him go. I did not expect that at all.
So your next challenge ends up being a blindfold challenge. Were you a caller? Or were you one of the blindfolded players?
So I sat out. So
that makes it easy.
I have so from the start I've made this very clear. I have hearing loss in my left ear. I've made that clear to everybody. And I always said there's a blindfold challenge. We were calling out. I don't want to be the reason we lose if I mishear something and whatnot. So if it's a blindfold hearing challenge, I believe Megan has some hearing loss as well, but I think she was more comfortable than I was. So I thought it was the best interest if we all just went with that plan. So I sat out for that one.
So your tribe ends up winning again. And so this time, are you thinking Sebastian's going home?
I was like, they're not going to tell Keenan to mutiny over just to vote him out. So I thought once again, Bash is gone. And I still kept telling the Blue Tribe, listen, Bash is going to be gone. They turned on James, probably because they thought he was close to you.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think a narrative also was Keenan going, I was shocked. I was shocked Keenan went based on how things played out. I think Keenan probably felt hurt, which he did at Final Tribal. He expressed that. But I started also selling the point where, like, okay, it seems like anyone who was swapped away from this group comes back and they're doomed. So I tried to push that as my next. Like, I was doomed because I went away. They might not know what happened with me over here. They're going to try and gun for me. So I was like, use me. I just kept pushing that. I always was like, telling people, use me in this situation. It seems like they're doomed if they're swapping away.
So Keenan gets voted out, but you finally make the merge. So that's a great feeling. You all get the most legitimate merge feast I've ever seen, right? You all get Applebee's, correct?
Yeah, shout out to Ame and Pete for that one.
So talk to me about the merge feast, the reuniting with your old tribe, and also what's going through your head, because you suddenly are, if you look at just original numbers, you're at like 5-5. It could have been 6-4, but now it's 5-5, and you're like, where do things go from here?
So I think most people didn't see is we were all sitting. I was the last one there to sit down. Everybody sat down. I tried to sit down here. I think someone cut me off. Then there's a spot in the corner by Barb and KC. So I go over there. I open up my napkin, and an idol clue falls out right in my lap as everybody's reaching for food. So my jaw dropped. I shove it in my pocket. I'm inside. I'm just jumping for joy. I go nuts with the champagne. Maybe I had a little bit too much to drink. 6 glasses of champagne might have been a little bit too excessive, but it was awesome. I think everybody was just in good spirits. We've been anticipating the merge. We actually find out that James and Keenan are the first 2 jury members, which none of us saw coming over on Blue. So we were ecstatic. At least we made the jury. It's a huge milestone. I felt sick after. Of course, I ate my burger. Barb didn't want to finish hers. I had some of Barb's. I had the champagne. So I was feeling a little ugh. But I also thought to myself, and I had the idol clue. So I can pretend I have stomach issues. Go look for this damn thing. So I tried to play it up. I was hurting a little bit, but I played it up a little bit more like I had some stomach issues. I told them later on I took fake bathroom breaks. I took the toilet paper. But I would do that and go look for the idol. Or read the idol clue again and kind of go from there. So that's just kind of what I was thinking. And I was able to catch up with Ryan and stuff on the way back. They explained that they just thought Bash was more against Blue than Keenan and James were. And they feel like Bash was fully on their side. Since they showed him some love, he's going to be forever indebted to them.
So you mentioned earlier that Keenan was kind of you were teeing him up as a shield, right? Because he really got people's attention, and then that was great for you. Do you feel like Sebastian was kind of able to do the same for you at all?
See, I spent all this time bashing Bash. This whole tribe, I came up with the Holy Trinity thing. I really got it in their heads, I feel, that Bash was telling him everything. And I think it was accurate information, which I was relaying to the point where they did not want to work with Bash anymore. So I saw so I was talking to Ryan. I was like, I could talk to Bash again. Bash seemed really happy to see me when I came back. He thought I was done for if we lost. So me and him kind of bonded over that fact. Both kind of felt like dead men walking in a swap. So we kind of used that and built our relationship a little bit more. So I thought to myself, okay, if we're in his relationships with Blue, maybe I could just stick with Bash and make sure Bash stays a little longer to kind of keep him a target ahead of me. So that's kind of, I was okay with the Keenan and Bash kind of shield swap.
So let's imagine that instead of you being a minority on the Naga tribe, someone else drew key alliances as well. And you are on Kawano with 3 of your Fire and Ice tribe alliance members. And you have James, Keenan, and Sebastian, and you still lose 2 challenges. Which 2 do you vote out?
Again, I think for this point, I wouldn't be the one to make that decision because I don't want to be I want it to be a loyal follower. I want people to see me that way. So I think if Lauren, Ryan, Angela, Sam with them, they kind of push for one of them, I'm going to go with it.
Mhm.
If it was like suggesting to vote out Lauren, I would have fought back against it. Ryan, Angela would have fought back against it. But like I said, James was somebody early on I thought would be dangerous later on. So I think James I definitely would have been open to. Keenan, it would have been harder to let him go, especially since I wouldn't have been on blue to kind of badmouth Bash, so maybe he still could have gone back. So I think maybe I would have voiced my opinion more to keep Keenan over James. I think would have been okay. As far as keeping Keenan and Bash, I think it probably still would end up being Keenan if that's what everybody wanted. Because I'm not going to be the one to kind of push against my alliance, especially that early. So I kind of would have just settled for Bash staying, even though I probably would have expressed my opinion to keep Keenan around.
So you have your first individual immunity challenge. I think that ends up happening like evening day 5, or is that day 6? You have the first individual immunity challenge.
Day 5.
Okay, and so this is where you have the platform, you have the balanced a rising tower disc, and it kind of comes to a head between Megan and KC, but KC takes the victory. How was the challenge for you?
So I think I got out towards the middle. I got out on the transition. My girlfriend tells me I should have used my right hand. Maybe I just screwed up. I don't know. I have very good focus. So, and this is, I think I was just one piece off balance, just a little bit. When you get that high, especially in the transition, it all came crumbling down. So I don't think I had a chance, especially in that challenge. Megan and KC killed it. We were all rooting for Megan, clearly.
I mean, did KC winning ruin plans to vote him out first, or you're like, no, we need to take over the blue?
We were like, KC's got to go. Blues might expect it's one of them. Let's make KC the vote. Get that middle factor out of there, because he could still maybe tie up some old relationships with other people. Who knows? Casey could still, he was on both tribes. That made him a little bit more dangerous than the obvious blue, original blue. So I think, Casey we were bummed when Casey won.
So let's kind of talk through the lay of the land of this merged tribe, right? You kind of have the original yellow faction, right? That's the Fowler and Ice alliance of you, Lauren, Angela, and Ryan. On the other hand, you have the Holy Trinity of Barbara, Josh, and Sharif. And you kind of have 3 people kind of in the middle, right? Casey has gone to the blue side of the force. Sebastian's gone to the yellow side of the force. And Megan kind of has choices of where she wants to go. And I guess it feels like the question is this going to be a deadlock, or is someone going to end up flipping to one side?
I think we kind of were confident in the fact. So we were trying to pull Sharif as the decoy vote. So going back to that, so I want to talk about the idol find.
Yeah, let's do the idol, because you had the clue and you were taking bathroom breaks to search for it.
So the idol clue is like, if you watch season 9, which I did, this will help you. It wasn't at a challenge, it's at camp. I actually had no clue. So I'm just looking around. Big clue. Very vague. So I'm just looking around camp. And like I look up and there it is, like shining. Oh, it's like in the middle of camp. Everybody, like Sharif and Ryan, are tying knots, looking up. I'm like, oh, so I just found it. And I'm just thinking to myself, how the fuck am I going to get this idol? With people are standing by the fire, people are right by the wood pile. You have 3 people in the shelter. Bash walking around everywhere. So I go and stand under the shelter. My hand on the tree, just chilling. Asking, hey, you mean to tie this? Fake tying knots that were already tied. And I think there was talk about making a bamboo bed. And then Sharif walked away, Ryan walked away, Bash was behind me. And I see the girls turn and look at something in the woods. So I pull the vine down, and the idol falls, makes a sound on the ground. I grab it, I stash it in my bag. I look around. Nobody was looking at me. Nobody did a double take. I'm just sitting there, just looking around. I couldn't believe it. And I went and shoved it in my bag, casually, of course, and secured the idol. And then I had a plan to use the idol clue to get closer to people, which I knew Sharif knew that was bullshit right away. But so that was one of my favorite moments. Just finding it, not only finding it, just finding it in front of everybody, and nobody saw it. I don't know how you have 9 other people in the same area and they just didn't notice it. I think it was 99% luck and then 1% good timing. And I had to be perfect on the timing. So I took the clue. I told Sharif I had a clue. I found a clue. I was safe to tell people this because they can go look all they want. I have it. So I saw Ryan go off and do a confessional. I grabbed the toilet paper again on my fake bathroom breaks. I run down there. I give Ryan the clue. He reads it during his confessional. I interrupted. I told Ryan, go look for it. I lied. I had to lie to him a little bit. But he was the first person I told that I actually had it because I thought to myself, how bad is it going to look if I play it? And he told me about his right away, but I didn't tell him. So I had to tell him before I played it, and I lied about how I found it, or the timing of when I found it. But he had to know. I knew that. Yeah.
You essentially didn't tell him at first you had it, but later down the road you revealed that you had it and kind of gave another story behind it.
Yeah, not much later. This was like maybe hours later because it was during this. It was after the challenge, after KC won immunity. I told him and Lauren and Angela. They knew. I know you never tell. I always watch this. Why do people tell others about their idol? I understand now, because you feel like it reduces the paranoia significantly. Because everyone knows there's a merch idol out there. They know I have it, so we think that there's one blue idol still out there, which we didn't know they didn't find it. So that, I think, it kind of eased it. And of course, as grand as me finding the idol was, the play not so grand. I kind of took a big L on that one, which I own up to it. Paranoia got the best of me.
Hey, I walked out with that out of my pocket, so you didn't do that. So
yeah, it's just something in my mind. So we had this plan. So Josh, I want to get back to the merch. So Josh was, I think he was feeling sick. He wasn't talking at all. Barbara expressed concern that Josh wasn't talking. Sharif was concerned Josh wasn't talking. And he was talking to maybe one or two people. He was just laying in the shelter. So some of us thought, okay, maybe he has the idol. He's going to use it no matter what. He feels safe. But it was just strange to me because Josh, if you know Josh is very intelligent and Josh knows what he's doing. So it's like, I don't know if he was sick. I know he was feeling a little on the downside at Blue Camp. The rice didn't go down well. I don't know. But it was strange. So I think we went Sharif as the main vote. And then, the decoy, and Josh was the main vote. And I had talked with KC. And they actually voted how I knew they were going to vote. They told me that Bash was getting votes. So I kind of pushed, okay, Bash is bad mouthing you guys. Let's even the playing field for you guys a little bit. And then I have to talk to them. I have to pretend I'm with them. But I'm with you guys, kind of deal.
So you knew Megan was voting Josh, or you felt pretty confident in that?
Megan was the only one I wasn't 100% sure, but Lauren and Angela knew. I think they felt confident in their relationship. So I just used that at that time. It's like, you can't be in everybody's ear. You have to put some trust out there. And then if your people are telling you what's going on, that's good enough for me, at least at that point.
What's interesting with this vote is that you have two players who have been marked with a medallion, right? You have both Lauren and Sharif at this point who are marked. And so was it tempting to vote Sharif versus have him be the decoy, or it was just too obvious that's why he was the decoy?
It was too obvious. That's why it's a decoy. Because I was pitching the case to Sharif and Lauren, or Sharif mostly, that it's too obvious you and Lauren are the votes. That's who idols would get played on. You have to look at it that way. So why not? You guys don't want Bash around. It's not an original yellow. It's the last person they're going to play an idol on. Think of it that way, as opposed to. And then Lauren knew she was fine. I think they wanted to go Lauren at first, especially Sharif, because he knew she was the other marked person. But eventually we got on Bash versus Josh, and I think that it was just too obvious to vote. It wouldn't make sense if idols did get played correctly. We'll say it that way.
Now, this ends up being actually a pretty exciting tribal council. There's a lot of things come out, right? And so I can't remember what the order is, but I think the first thing is that Casey gives up immunity to Sharif.
So yeah, Casey gives up immunity to Sharif. Josh hands, which we now know is the fake idol, to Casey. And that's what threw me off. So I knew the votes were going where they were, but I didn't know all this was going to happen. I think Megan was in on this plan as well about stuff being exchanged. And that just threw me off. And I'm thinking to myself, listen, of all this craziness, who knows if they're even going to go through with their vote? They may have a second plan. We all know where the blue idol is 100%. That might be the blue idol.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to. We all stuck with it. We all we mouthed each other. Josh, we stayed with it. So the whole charade flushed 2 idols for them. So that's a benefit for them. I flushed mine out of pure paranoia. I'm not going home with it in my pocket. Ryan still has. Well, no, I guess Ryan gave his to Lauren. So it's just like, at this point, we'll deal with it. I'd rather go back and deal with it than go to the jury and deal with it. So pure paranoia, terrible read on my part. They played me. I gotta give them that. They definitely played the idol right out of my hands. But we still got the end result correct. Josh still went, and I'll take that as the win of the day if I can't hold on to my idol.
Yeah, so it ends up being a 6-4 votes with Sharif, Barber, Casey, and Josh voting Sebastian. There are no stray extra votes this time because all the penalty votes are negated, which is entertaining. And then Josh marks Megan.
I was super happy about that because it wasn't anybody from us, and I felt like he thought Megan was on his side. Obviously, Megan did a great job there, kind of playing in the middle, gaining that trust. Because I think she also I think she was a part of this whole idea of exchanging things. So if it's true, Megan does brilliantly played. And I think you made Josh he was fooled by you. So I was happy that it was put on Megan. Because again, I wanted Megan out since the pre-swap originally. So it was like, okay, myself, Ryan, Angela were not marked. Even Bash is now marked. So it's like, if things go wrong, we can push Megan. She has the extra vote. And it's not any of us. So to me, I was happy about that result.
So I have to imagine you're a big fan of the next community challenge.
I am. So I got to use my focus I talked about. The paddles, let me tell you, they were heavy.
So when I did this challenge, I was really mad because I play tennis, and a lot of the things you do in tennis is practice with the paddle, the ball, and balancing. But I never anticipated how heavy that thing just gets, where you're just it's not balancing. It's I can't keep my arm up.
Yeah, so it was really heavy, and my thing was I just wanted to win one. I found the idol. I had my moment there. I had all these other bucket lists. I was a part of a blindside. I was on all 3 tribes. There's just a lot of cool stuff on this bucket. My bucket list as I made up as I went along. So I was I think it's time. I really just want to win an immunity challenge. They announced there was 1 male winner, 1 female winner. And it came down to myself, Casey, and Sharif. And that was all the motivation I needed. Because Casey, I'm like, man, you're not going to get me. You're not winning another one, buddy. Not on my watch. And Sharif, I think I have a lot of respect for Sharif. And him and I have a very strange relationship inside the game. And I just really wanted to beat him. I wanted a showdown with Sharif. It was talked about all season. If there was a sumo challenge, I would have had to square off with Sharif. Size things, I would pair it with Sharif. So it's 2 very good inspirational things. I was just counting in my head. I got the 1,237 counting in my head, looking at that ball. And I was not losing. I would have stayed up there. I wasn't dropping that time.
So who do you feel like you have a bigger rivalry with? You and Josh in challenges, or you and Sharif in challenges?
I wouldn't even say Sharif and I were challenges. I think just Sharif and I, just based on our builds and archetypes, it was always talked about as a joke, us being pinned against each other. So I think overall game, those 2, but Josh beat my ass twice in challenges. So I wanted to redeem myself against Josh. So I think that's kind of how that went.
So you and Lauren win both immunities that round. And to my understanding, one of the big things that came out of that Final 10 Tribal Council is, where is the blue idol? Is that true?
So, yeah. So I want to, because I know I got nailed for this in Final Tribal by KC. And I didn't really get a chance to explain everything that went down. They didn't film a lot of that. So if I could just take it from, we get back to camp. So we know Josh passed over an idol, which was fake, to KC. None of us knew from Kawanu that it was legit fake. Barb and Sharif were preaching that it was fake, and they were willing to vote KC, I believe. And were we supposed to believe them? they were on the outs at the last vote. They did all these moves that we didn't know about. How can we believe them?
Mm-hmm.
So I still had the fake idol Ryan gave me from the swap. I had my merge bag and my merge idol. I went on another fake bathroom break. I hid my idol. I hid the fake idol in some brush. And I was hanging out down there picking up firewood very slowly. I see KC starting to walk toward me. So I make my way back. I find the idol in front of KC. I put it in my pocket. I make it seem like I did not make eye contact with him until I looked up. He saw me. We talked. He goes, "Did you find something?" I said, "I did." We start talking. So then I bring up the fact, like, he says he thinks his idol's fake. But he also thinks there's a chance it could be real.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know. So I kind of said, okay, you saw me find this one. I can give you some security knowing it's real, because people are still unsure that it's real. Mm-hmm. None of us knew, besides Barb and Sharif, that it was legitimately fake, because it looked like a real idol. We didn't know about the markings. We didn't have the paper that said it was a fake idol.
Fake idol.
Yeah. So we were like, they could be trying to pull one over on us. So I was like, "Would you do an exchange?" And he goes, "He would," because he saw me pull it out of the brush. So I think he knew it was real. And then I said, "Let me think about it," because I didn't want to seem like I was overly eager. So I feel like it could raise some red flags. So I said, "Let me think about it." So everyone decides on the vote's going to be KC. We get to the top of Sharif is very paranoid. I tell him, no, I've lied to Sharif the whole game. So Sharif has some trouble trusting me. Can't blame him there. So I believe he used the safety without power this round, which another thing I did, Casey told me not to tell anyone, but he said Sharif won't be leaving. So I immediately went up to Sharif. I was like, "Hey, on the walk up, I know you're leaving. Tribal, I know you have the safety without." He was pissed. If you would have seen the look in his eyes, "Who told you that?" I'm like, "KC." And he's just like, he was mad. So I think that kind of helped. With nothing sketchy, they were done. At that point, they were done. So I get to the top of the hill. I still think his idol's real. I'm not going to be convinced until it's not. So I mouth him. We're waiting for everybody to catch up. Let's switch. So we walk away a little bit. We switch. I give him the bag with the skull and the clue. He gives me the idol, the fake idol.
He hasn't even seen the idol at this point, right?
No. So, but so the immunity necklace had a skull on it, and then we tried to say that was the comparison. Not all idols look the same. So if you've seen the idols, the crafty decoration, that's going to be different. Maybe they're just switching it up.
Yeah. It's a merge idol. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how we did it. And I showed Sharif. I said, "I got it. They're good. Don't play it." I'm trying to build trust with him. Like I'm saying, he was genuinely fine. He wasn't going anywhere. I wanted him to save it for another round to make it look like, okay, I'm building some trust with Sharif again. But I wanted to blindside him. But it was all building up. I wanted to build a little bit of trust back. So Sharif played it. And then obviously we all know what happened next. Casey played it. It was fake. He took it very personally. And I really wanted to let him know I meant no personal. This wasn't a move to embarrass Casey. And I really felt bad he took it that way. I talked to him after the game was over. I really felt bad because I'm not here to make anybody personally attack. I had a genuine concern that his idol was real. He was the vote, and that was my mindset behind it. I wasn't laughing with people going, "I'm going to make him look like an idiot." That wasn't my intention. So I just wanted to set that straight. That is my whole reasoning for why I did what I did. And it was just to ease the paranoia around that idol. I showed everybody on the walk up I have it. So it's fine. He has the skull. It's fake. We all know it's fake. Let him play that. And that eased everybody down a little bit. The paranoia went down a little bit. So that was kind of my reasoning behind that move.
So Sebastian cast a vote for Megan that round, probably the secure in case idols do come out. Did you know that was happening?
Yeah. We were so happy they were kept voting for each other because it kept that divide. So later in the game, when numbers meant something, because we all had a suspicion Megan was trying to do an all-girls alliance.
Yeah.
And I kept pushing that to Bash. And it was around this time, Ryan, Bash, and I kind of made a final 3 agreement, which I wanted. That was what my shift was going to be to later in the game. So keeping Bash and Megan at odds was crucial, and I'm glad they kept voting for each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's kind of talk about Endgame, because we're down to the final 8, right? And so you have your alliance with Sebastian, Lauren, Angela, Ryan, yourself, right? And then Megan is kind of working with you, and then you have Sharif and Barbara who are on the outs. I mean, so that your ideal final 3 was going to be you, Ryan, Sebastian.
That's what I wanted. I felt that was my best shot to win at that. From those group of people, I feel like that's my best shot at winning.
So looking at the other members of your alliance, which are Angela and Lauren, like, when did you think you needed to turn them? Was that going to be like, let's get to the final 5 and make it happen, or
the round after? Right, it was going to be the round after Sharif was. So Sharif was supposed to go, and Ryan went. It's our joke on me.
So final 6.
That's when we were going to try and make a move. Ryan was more vocal about it than I was, but I knew we had to make a move on them soon. And I've been pushing Megan's name for so long. I think we had the numbers to split votes, and I was going to be like, let's split the votes on Bash and Megan. But in reality, boom, Brian, Bash, and I, blindside, Lauren or Angela. Pretty sure it probably would have been Lauren before Angela. So,
okay. So at the end, so one more thing at the end of the final 9, Casey marks you on the way out the door with the medallion, right?
Yeah. I saw that one coming.
Yeah. And so, were you worried at all about like you catching extra votes then at the final 8, or you felt like, no, I think we're pretty comfortable with this majority with taking out one more member of the original Unaga?
So that was the first time I was going to get a vote the entire game. My name has not been written down yet, and of course I was nervous. Whenever somebody has that medallion you're talked about, it might have not ever happened for anybody previously. They were being discussed. My whole thing was I don't want my name being discussed. It was discussed a lot. And I was always managed to kind of get the target off of me a little bit. So I knew it was going to be. So I was absolutely nervous. You have to play like you're going home every time. But I think at the end of the day, when Barbara went, Barbara has a phenomenal way of speaking. And Barbara is a genuine person. And she knows how to tell a story beautifully. Like she would she would do like an appraisal on both camps in such a way like you're buying a mansion. She knew how to talk. And a lot of us were concerned by that. It's like, okay, let's do the easy move. If she got to the end, she's still an underdog. She's been an underdog the whole merge. And if she got there, I believe she can really talk her way. And that was just kind of Barbara's threat level. I think Barbara was a bigger threat than she even gave herself credit for.
So before we get to the Barbara getting voted out, at the end of day 6, you do a reward challenge, right? Where it's I think random draw into groups of 4, and you have to like stack blocks up while holding tension on ropes. I think the survivor calls it a bit tipsy. Your tribe does not win. Your group. So you, Barbara, Sharif, and Sebastian get to spend some quality time
Lauren.
at camp. Was it Lauren?
Yeah, Lauren came back to camp and Bash got drunk on the reward.
Oh, okay. I have it wrong in the wiki. I should change that.
Yeah, so Bash went on because it led to the memory challenge where he was drunk and somehow won. So yeah. So
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was Lauren, Sharif, Barbara, and myself going back to camp, and that was fun. That was a fun couple hours. So we all scrambled. We all talked on the way back. Let's make some rice, relax, whatever. We get back, looking for the idol frantically and openly, to the point where it's a joke. So Mike is there, or Frank, and we're just like, let's do a confessional, all 4 of us. Just one confessional, 4 person. Let's make a. So we're all just talking. We're just gonna look for the idol and see what happens. So we look. No knowledge. Megan already had it. I gave Megan props after she played at Final 6. I had no clue she had it, and we looked for nothing. She already had it at that point. So Megan, I give you mad props for that because I had no clue. So Lauren and I pretty much went into. Lauren and I looked. Barbara and Sharif were looking, and I felt bad. Like I said, I really liked everybody. Like I liked Sharif. Sorry, as a person. I like Barbara as a person. They came up to me at one point, like, "Can we just eat rice?" Beat. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." We all just sat around. We made rice. We called a truce, and like I genuinely felt bad because I felt like everybody needed some energy. We just lost. I was fine. But that was a human moment right there, the way they were looking defeated. So I was like, all right, let's just call it. We all sat by the fire, ate rice, talked, and then napped for maybe 5-10 minutes. I got up. I told them I was going to be open. I'm going to look again.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone got up and looked again. Sharif and Barb were one side, Lauren and I were the other side. None of us had any luck until the next challenge came.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole time was just idle hunting.
So that next challenge, it's the memory box challenge, where there's different stations. You have to look to see what's inside. You can ask a bunch of questions about it. But the twist is you don't know who wins immunity until after the votes will be cast. So the individual will be granted like a hidden immunity idol. I'm curious, was there a lot of concern over Barbara potentially winning, especially with Angela? Angela would catch 2 votes at tribal council.
So I think she didn't sound confident. And of course, that could have been her playing us. I tried to sound the most confident because I counted the tiebreaker right away. I knew it was 72. I just played that up. I was like, I feel like I did really well. I guessed every box, I guess, because I was so focused on the tiebreaker, I didn't pay attention to shit. I maybe remembered one other thing. I ended up getting 4th place. So good guessing, I guess. But it was a shot. It was a Hail Mary. We just went with it. We can't control what happens. So it's like we're just gonna go with it, and whatever happens, happens. So it was a lot of just a shot in the dark.
So the tribal council ends up happening the morning of day 7. Barbara goes home in a 6-2-1 vote, and Sebastian wins immunity and also gets marked for the next round.
The Holy Trinity just focusing on Bash.
Which leaves Sharif left. And so walk me through, so in your ideal world, Sharif goes home at final 7, Megan goes home at final 6, Angela, Lauren at final 5. Then Angela.
No, it would be 4? Lauren at final 6. And
okay, Lauren at final 6.
Megan or Angela, whoever lost, goes home then. Final 4, Ryan, Bash, and I versus whoever's left.
And Lauren's out at final 6 because she's just more of a threat in challenges, or more of a threat in general?
More of a threat in general. We thought Lauren was running away with it at that point.
And you mentioned before how the marking became, the medallion that used the marked players became more and more an issue as the later game went. I mean, it can't last forever, but when you get down to 6-7 players, it's going to have a much bigger influence on how the strategy shapes around it.
Absolutely. So I believe you said Bash got marked. And then I was just pushing because I wanted Bash to stay. Clearly, he was in my end game. He burned. He's a very out there personality. He was burning bridges at camp, very out there. And then I was like, guys, Sharif has this beautiful story where he's talking openly to tribal, and it looks like he's convincing all of us to keep him. And he's like playing safety without power. Theoretically, from the jury's eyes, he just saved his ass. All this, like he's verbally talking about how he's staying. So I'm like, he's gonna kill all of us at the end. So if you want to risk him, like when he loses, he has to go. And that was my pitch. And props to everybody coming together and blindsiding Ryan. I give mad respect when it's due. I did not see that one coming. I did see. I told my confessional this. There was a moment right before we left, Lauren and Angela made eye contact with each other and gave each other a look. And it's just like I caught it. And I just didn't think anything of it. Looking back now, it's like, okay, they're planning something big. But apparently Lauren refused, or Angela or Lauren, I don't know which one, but one of them refused to put my name down.
Really? Because that's one of the questions. Like, how did they decide between you and Ryan? I was curious to see, why was Ryan seen more as a endgame threat, or maybe it was just you had a better social. They thought you were a better person to have in just for their longevity. I don't know.
I'm not sure of the reasoning, but I've heard 2 different stories from both of them. So hopefully that gets cleared up. One of the stories, Lauren pushed me first, Angela refused, and then it got switched to Ryan. Other side, flip it around. Lauren didn't want to do it. Write my name. I'm not sure which one's actually true. I've heard both. But either way, I was grateful. Like I said, being blindsided and staying is an eye-opener. And I needed that eye-opener because I think maybe I took the rookie mistake. It's my first live game. I think I took the rookie mistake of potentially getting too comfortable, thinking my plans were always going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the right side of the vote the whole game up until this point. So I think I got the kick in the ass I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated, like, you have to adapt. And my whole thing coming in was be flexible, adapt to any situation. And although my final 3 plans fell apart right in front of my eyes, Bash was still left out of the vote with me. So we had that bond. Bash is still with me. So I have a number. If they want to do something, we're at 6. So I'm like, all I need, just got to beat it into their heads. And then Lauren, thankfully, Ryan read my, my telepathic, telepathic mind. Thank you for putting that on Lauren. Because I'm walking back to camp. I'm telling people openly, you guys are playing for second. The one with the medallion is going to win. And I tried to never play emotionally. And I think the tribe handlers talked about there being snakes around the area. I'm like, oh, there's snakes around here. So then I thought about shut up, Storm. Just shut up. Don't make any comments. I don't think anyone took that to heart. Then I made up a story about how I saw more snakes by Mike and Frank's tent. I think that was the end of that. So I just had to contain myself. I started talking but Sharif comes up to me because Lauren was so strategy talk, he was deep strategy talk with Sharif about the Ryan vote. So that made him feel very confident that he can trust her. After the next immunity challenge, which I believe Bash won.
So the final 6 challenge was
Angela says she remembers the snake comment.
Yeah. Sebastian won that challenge, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Bash wins it. I feel like I'm just screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I told Lauren I will not write your name down. I looked her right in the eye. I said, I will not write your name down. I know I'm on, borrowed time. I'll do whatever it is to stay. You gave me that allegiance day one. This can make up for it, kind of deal. And I believe Lauren wasn't going to write my name down that time. I think she was totally on board with Sharif. Sharif came up to me worried because Lauren was not talking to Sharif the same way as she did the previous vote, kind of ghosting him in a way. And Sharif's like, let's do an all guys thing. Let's squash the beef. You, me, and Bash. Let's just do it. And then the real trust I had to build here was with Angela. So Angela and I we had this great relationship the whole game. Betrays, they kept me. So I was grateful for that. So there was a point, I can't be totally off of their radar if they want to keep me. I'm not Ryan. Ryan's on the jury. So I'm like, there's got to be something there. So I talked to Angela. I'm like, and I know she saw the writing on the wall as well. Like, if her and Lauren got the final tribal, what's going to split them apart? They're just going to be grouped together. Maybe the third person wins. Maybe Lauren takes all your credit. Open your eyes. And she did. And I really believed her when she told me she was going to go against Lauren. As hard as it was, I know it was for her because they were tight. They were number ones at that point. But the word never got out that I was going to turn on them with Bash. Like, Ryan and I were very tight-lipped about that. And that we did not make it obvious, I feel. I made it obvious I wanted to be the final 4. It was Ryan, Lauren, and Angela, and myself. I was pushing that. I think they bought it. And then once that happened, I'm like, Angela, I'm with you. If we want to make a move, let's make it together. This could be Angela's move.
So I want to do some kind of hindsight 2020 kind of things right now. So in hindsight, should you have been making a move against Lauren at the final 7 or even earlier? Yeah.
So, no game is perfect. I think my biggest flaw in this game was not pulling the trigger when I did, or pulling the trigger when I should have. I think we knew that the girls were tight, but we just didn't. We didn't pull in Sharif because we should have pulled in Sharif for that vote and went guys strong against Lauren or something along those lines. Splitting, that's what we should have done at Final 7. I think Sharif would have been open to that. We just waited one vote too long, and luckily I was around to see it. Ryan was not, unfortunately. So they did a phenomenal job fooling us. I was completely blindsided. So I give them props, but I definitely think I waited. I should have done it Final 7 instead of planning for Final 6.
And then knowing what you know now, you talk about like your ideal final three is you, Ryan, Sebastian. With Ryan out of the picture, you end up bringing Angela into it. But looking back at the remaining players, is there someone else you should have substituted Angela with?
No, because look at how everybody went out. Lauren, I think, smokes everybody. She was playing phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
She was cutthroat when she needed to be. She built great relationships with everybody. She was very lively around camp. She had a bond with everybody. She beats everybody. Sharif, when he went, the jury had a huge reaction to when he got. They were pissed because they wanted him to win. Megan got a standing ovation when she got voted out. So it's like, I knew it was always going to be an uphill battle against Angela. I also underestimated Angela as well. I thought I had a better shot at that point than I gave her credit for. But as the game went on, I thought about it more. I knew it was going to be an uphill battle once it got to a certain point. I think out of all of the remaining people, after Ryan left, Angela and Bash were my best chances of winning. Because I think Sharif wipes the floor with Angela and myself. I think Megan wipes the floor with Angela and myself. And Lauren wipes the floor with Angela and myself. So I think it was also the best move for Angela. So Bash, I don't think it mattered. Like I said, Bash really didn't sell his game the way he should have. So I think Bash was making final three regardless, it seemed like.
So at the final six Lauren vote, Lauren is one of the two players voted out this season who was marked with the medallion. Given that it ends up being like 6-1 vote, Lauren's the sole vote for Sharif, how much did that medallion matter, or is it just kind of it brought it to it's hastened her to her inevitable end that rounds? Like, how much did that medallion factor in then?
It factored huge because at that point, at first, Sharif, Bash, and I were talking. It's like, it's 6, she's marked. We only need 4. And that was easier to pitch. And then I think Sharif and Megan kind of talked, and Sharif may have filled Megan, and I didn't know Megan had the idol. There was a thought Megan was going to play the idol on Lauren and idol me out. She wanted to. I know she was kicking herself for not doing that. So I'm thanking her for playing it on herself.
Well, yeah, because like she ends up playing on herself, and which better than trying to bring it to the end. Though we saw Marianne did it successfully this past season. I'm wondering, like, for Megan, like, I'll be curious when I ask her, like, is there something you could have done and used it to try to get yourself into a firmer alliance to get past the final 4? Who knows?
Yeah, I think that if she had to go back, she would have idled me out at final 6 instead of playing it on herself. But she was blindsided on the next vote with Sharif going, I believe. So I think she saw things in a different perspective at that point.
So let's talk about so is there anything else you want to talk about with day 7 after Lauren goes home, or do you want to just go to the last
No, so yeah, like I said, we should have, Angela, I think, made the best move possible for her. I was shocked I was able to kind of intertwine myself. I have to name, because I thought I was screwed. Sharif or Lauren. Lauren took it like a champ. So a lot of respect for Lauren. She played amazing.
So the final 5 immunity challenge, you were on a balance board in the lake. How did this challenge go for you?
So I'm exhausted at this point, and I'm a big guy. So this thing, if I stayed in the center, it was fine. But if I was like shifting, I was falling over. So I wasn't winning. There was no chance I was winning. So I just said, listen, I'm not going to waste y'all time. You 4 just go ahead and do it. I'm exhausted. I can't balance on this thing. I'm not going to be able to stay straight the whole time because there's going to be times where we have to one hand up, 2 hands up. It's not in the cards for me. I knew I wasn't going to win. And they all understood that. And it was a battle between those 4. And then in reality, it was Megan's challenge to lose. Sharif's also a big guy.
Yeah.
Props to him for hanging out on there as long as he did. Angela, I believe, was off after that. And then Bash amazed me in that challenge because he screwed up when he should have stood up like Megan did. He stayed squatted, jumped up, miraculously kept his balance. But yeah, Megan, that was her challenge to lose.
And so at this point, are you, Angela, and Bash just like, it's us 3, whoever loses going home?
Yeah, because it's so obvious that Sharif is a jury favorite and Megan's a jury favorite just because of the underdog story. So we were like, whoever loses has to go. And then I was able to I don't think Sharif had much of an option because, like I said, I rebuilt a little bit of that trust with him on the previous vote, voting out Lauren and not him. That I think, him, Bash, and I kind of were pushing Angela, but Angela wasn't going to go anywhere. So I think Megan was confused why Sharif voted for Angela. Megan thought I was going home, which is funny because that's the first time anyone wrote down my name.
You actually have the stat for the least amount of votes received the entire season.
Yep. 2 written down and 1 medallion.
Send 2 penalty. I think it's, like 1 penalty vote, then the final 5, final 4 votes.
Yeah, Megan voted for me both times, so thank you, Megan.
She's consistent.
She is, and it was funny. So we were talking right before Tribal. Me and her, the last ones to talk. She's like, "What are you thinking?" I look at her. I just smile. I go, "Megan, I just want you to know, if you write down my name tonight, just put a nice little lightning bolt next to it." I said, "I know you're writing my name down." It's just like, at that point, I knew it. There's no sense of just going through the motions there. And she thought I was legitimately going. So I know she was blindsided. She's like, "Why did Sharif vote for Angela?" And she was blindsided. So I think that's when the regret set in. Maybe she should have played her idol for Lauren.
So your final immunity challenge is essentially fetching the instant insanity puzzle pieces, where you have the colored blocks, where there's 4 different colors. I mean, 4 6-sided blocks. You want to have a vertical column of blocks where each side has each color once. And it is, I've looked at the Wikipedia page how to solve this puzzle, and I'm too lazy to learn graph theory. So I don't know how you're supposed to approach this challenge. Tell me about your experience in it.
So I was the first one done with all the obstacles. So I had a little bit more time on the puzzle. Apparently there was some trick. There was one block that had 3 black. You're supposed to position that a certain way, and that sets you up. Apparently I was right. I was one color. I had 3 colors, 3 sides good. The 4th side I just could not do. So it was just like, it was so frustrating. I started looking at Megan next to me. Maybe she's close. I don't know. I was trying everything I could. I tried to okay, this double orange, double blue. I didn't know what the hell I was thinking. I was exhausted. So I just, hopefully luck would hit my side. But I was actually thrilled to see Angela pull it out. It was anybody but Megan. We did rites of passage before that. I remember right before rites of passage, we talked and we were like, it's got to be Megan. So
Megan goes home in a throw-in vote, and before we get to the final tribal council, you actually have one final reward challenge for what ends up being an extra vote to send to a jury member, and this is where you have to solve a surprisingly complicated snake puzzle.
Yeah, they gave us a hot dog and some chips, so we were like, final 3 celebration. Pete, Amos, and Parker came down. The 3 main hosts, just them. We're like, okay, this is gonna be a cool little moment. Whatever. We eat, we talk. I made a joke about can you give me an extra jury vote? Just make it like the medallion. Can I put that on somebody to vote extra for me? And then Parker's like, it's funny you say that. Walks off, comes back with this challenge. And I'm like, oh damn, not a puzzle. And then it's a puzzle. Bash smokes us. I screwed up toward the beginning, so I had to start over. I believe Angela screwed up towards the middle, and kind of Bash never messed up. And then I'm pitching the Bash, Ryan liked you, bro. We had a final 3. Maybe Ryan's your best shot at voting. I was just trying. It didn't work. He picked KC of all people. And I'm just like, oh man. Odds are stacked even more against me.
So talk me through your mindset, because you've been 8 days. Food situations range. I mean, you got Applebee's. The Applebee's fuels maybe for a day or 2, but not 3. Talk to me where you're at mentally, and especially going into final tribal council.
So I was the only one who really hadn't been on a reward. Lauren and I think, didn't go on any. Everybody else got to go on something, whether it was the bar, the pizza bar, or the boat, whatever. So I was tired, and once you vote out, once you make final 3, you let your guard down a lot because you don't have to scramble as much with I don't have to lie to Angela or Bash anymore. We're not voting each other out. We have to focus to the jury. So your guard gets down a lot, and you start to really wind down mentally out there. And like I'm on fumes at this point. We had the hot dog and stuff, which was helpful. I appreciated that. Besides that, I was on fumes. I didn't sleep the last 2 nights because I was up thinking if all my what do I do? Ryan got blindsided. Am I screwed? How can I word this to people? How can I stay? And then the night before, I'm like, okay, Sharif are making obvious huge threats. What can I do to push them ahead of me? And then do counts. Obviously, do the James through Megan count who's voting for who. So it's exhausting. Actually, we all took about 20 minutes and went off on our own and did some reflections to prepare. Bash, I think, laid down in the jungle somewhere. I went to the top of the trail. Angela stayed at camp. We all just kind of did our own little reflection, what we're going to say. I'm like, well, I'm not going to pre-plan what I'm going to say. I'm just going to go off of what I know, and then that's going to be my strategy. So I know I lied to everybody. I know I had to own that. I know I had to come off the same way I came off the whole game, which is a little bit more. I had to sound confident. I maybe approach a little bit more aggression with my answers. Just be more upfront instead of kind of like, which I think I should have done, is kind of let my guard down and show my vulnerability a little bit more, which I think was my downfall.
Well, I think the other challenge of Final Football Council is I don't think you anticipated how the swings KC would be taking at you. I think that was probably threw you off guard.
That did catch me off guard. So James kind of warned us it was coming. I knew Casey was going to be upset. I did not expect it to go to that point. I felt some of it was maybe hurt, other to make me look like a menace. I don't know if it was strategically said. I do believe he was hurt, but I think he explained to me after the game, he took his frustrations out because Casey had a rough go. Like we were targeting him day one. The game wasn't easy for Casey. He had a rivalry with Ryan. I think he just took it out on me, and he admitted that. He even said when he sat down, he felt like it was a little bit too harsh. I didn't deserve all that. I told everybody this even after the game. They were all like, I didn't vote for you. I'm sorry. It's like, listen, I'm in my bed. I can lay in it. You don't have to explain anything to me. Every juror has their own. They have the right to do whatever they want. Whatever they think deserves to win, they deserve that right. They made it to that point. So I do think he threw me off. I'll put it that way.
Were there any other juror questions that were notable to you?
I do like how Barbara came at Bash, because I think because I totally didn't even think of the Holy Trinity having such a big effect as it did on Barbara or maybe the rest of the jury, because it turns out like Barbara was giving it to Bash about the name, and Bash is looking confused, and it's like he never said that, and she's like, "Well, who said it then?" And I raised my hand. I said it. And the jury had a huge reaction to that. And I think that was maybe that shows a little bit more like, I think maybe I could have said more little things I've done. Maybe that just wasn't shown. So that really got me thinking maybe I missed the mark on some of my things, because I'm like, this apparently had a bigger effect than I even gave it credit for. And it really pinned some people against Bash, which he was getting votes the whole merge. So I kept my name out, Bash's name in more. So, like, I think I missed the mark. I'm maybe becoming a little bit more vulnerable and showing that side of me. And maybe those little moves that I did.
I feel like it's tough because you're in a weird position where you have two players who went out pre-merge, right? Keenan and James, who you didn't vote out, but you were in an original tribe with. So you have pre-merge players. The question is, like, how much should the pre-merge maybe factor in my pitch, right? Should I be focusing only on the merge, or should I be bringing up, because maybe, like, you should have been brought up, like, this is how his poison the well Sebastian and getting everyone to pit against him. So that way he had no choice but to stay with my alliance. I don't know.
That's one thing I regret not really touching on as much. I really focused on the final 6 moment, which I think my mind was so, like, when you're in the moment there, you don't want to stutter. You don't want to triple think your words, and you don't make sense. So I'm just sticking to something and I'm staying with it. So at that point, it's just like, I had a great relationship with Keenan. I had a good relationship with James. And maybe I just thought that was enough, because I know Angela really hurt Keenan, but Keenan ends up voting for Angela, which I was shocked. I thought I had Keenan's vote. I also thought I had Josh's vote just based on the fact that Angela told me they had no relationship. They never talked. But at the end of the day, I think he just saw her game more than mine. I guess I think there's a lot of things I may have left out. And I think that some of the comments toward me put a negative light on my name.
Walking out of Final Tribal Council, how many votes did you feel like you had?
3.
Okay.
And I whispered into Angela's ear as they were voting. I said, "Can you shut up so I can sound a little better here?" Because she had a phenomenal closing speech. As soon as she finished her closing speech, I knew she won. I whispered to her, "You're winning this. Congratulations. Like, you deserve it." And I truly believe she deserves the win. Like, I look at how she presented her case, how I presented mine. And even that game overall, like, nobody saw Angela coming. People saw Sharif coming, Megan coming, Lauren coming. And Angela was just kind of shot. She stood her ground. She owned her positions, focused on relationships, and just steamrolled everybody, and nobody saw it coming. So it sucks to lose, but if I can lose to Angela, I'm happy about it because I do think she genuinely deserves it, and nothing but respect there.
I do want to bring up one vote we haven't talked about is you got Sharif's story vote.
I was
talking about rivalries, and you two are like neither of us can be here at the same time, right? Like, so do you know why he voted for you, or is it just respect for that rivalry, or just like you swayed him with your pitch?
Like I said, Sharif and I had a lot of respect for Sharif, and I really hope it was taken that way back because I genuinely liked him. Outside of this game, I feel like if we all never played this game together, in order to meet some of them, I'd probably be closest with Ryan and Sharif. I really had respect for Sharif, and I really owned how badly I treated him. Because I said at Tribal Council, Sharif, I said to everybody, I lied to all of you, but I like to shoot. Like, I especially lied to you. You know, it's just like I owned it. I owned who I was. I think he respected that. I wasn't trying to shy away from anything I did. I really I know what my game was. I know I lied a lot more than Angela did. Maybe I made lies, but I went too far. Maybe not. But I think that you'll have to ask him. I was just as shocked as you are that he voted for me to win. But because I originally thought when it was 2, I thought it was Ryan and Keenan. I didn't think I had a shot at his vote, but I think he just maybe respected the fact that I was who I was the whole game, even into Final Tribal.
So, is there anything else you want to bring up about your game, or can I throw some rapid questions at you to close this out?
Hit the rapid questions. I think
So, what was the lowest moment in the game for you?
The lowest moment? I want to say losing, but at the time, like I said, I understand why I lost. So I had closure on that point. I think the lowest point for me was maybe Ryan getting blindsided because, like I said, I think I made the mistake of getting too comfortable. But at the same time, if that being my lowest point, that was the biggest kick in the ass I needed to really bounce back and kind of navigate a different path. It's not like, okay, this path wasn't working. I got a second chance because it wasn't me that was leaving. So it's like I got a sign like maybe there's another path for you. It just wasn't the one you thought, but you're here to try. So as much like at the first factor, it's like, shit, all my plans are crumbling. I found a new way to kind of go about that. And really, as much as it was my lowest point, I needed to have that to really open my eyes and look at more options. I think that really helped me even get to the end.
So what was your highest point then?
Oh, God. See, I want to say the fake idol play. I would have told you the fake idol play last week. The game just ended. But seeing how it affected Casey personally, I don't want to say that because last thing I want is for somebody to legitimately feel hurt because that's not what I wanted. I think the moment Megan left, and Megan and I kind of had it out for each other for a little while. I love Megan. I think Megan's an awesome person. And like I said, we were openly talking. I told her I was voting her Final Four. She knew I knew she was writing my name down the vote before that and that vote. But like as soon as she left, it's like I said, you kind of let your guard down a little bit. And it's a huge accomplishment. It's my first live game. Like I talked. So I was the first one to arrive at Reelfoot. that got sequestered, and I had Jeff as in my room, and I was talking to him a little bit before Lauren got in there, and he's like, workers usually don't do well in these things. And he's right. I've known some people that played. Lydia and Sarah did very well, but like they really don't go that. Just they don't have the success that I think I had. I like look back on it, and it's like I have a bunch of high moments, but like when you see it all kind of come together at the end, and like you make the end, it's a sense of accomplishment that I think I was very proud of, regardless of the result.
What was your favorite challenge?
The battle. We got the one I won.
Who surprised you the most out there?
Megan. So, and I'm going to give it a tie to Megan and Angela. Because like I said, when you look back on Angela's game, it's so, you don't see it at first, but then she really smoked you. Megan, she had like a very quiet presence. Like I didn't know she was doing as much as she was doing. Like her being a part of like that swap stuff at the merge I heard about. Just like she really made bonds, just like Bash did. Like Bash made these bonds. She made those bonds too with Angela and Lauren. But they just weren't as obvious. And I think she was doing a lot more than I gave her credit for. But I did end up seeing her as the biggest threat to win, which she was. I do truly believe. So I'm going to give him a tie between Angela and Megan because Angela, I think, like I thought I had the best shot against Angela. I had no shot against Angela if you look at the scheme of things. So those two, I might give them both that.
Who do you wish you worked with that you didn't during the game? Like looking back, who do you wish you could have worked with?
So if I, oh God, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna change a thing. I think
Really?
I'm not gonna change a thing. I have no regrets on how I maneuvered.
Don't let me rephrase this. Pick one player that'd be dropped in a new game with you on your tribe. 17 strangers and one player from this season with you.
I'm gonna assume other people have watched the season. They're gonna see how far I made it with certain people. I'm gonna pick Dina.
Okay.
Because like I said, Dina has a larger in life personality. She'll be talked about more than me. And I didn't go far with her in this game, so I think that would help me in another game.
You can go back in time and give yourself like one sentence of advice before playing it. What would you tell yourself?
Don't wait. Don't get comfortable. Like if you're sure something's gonna happen, reevaluate yourself. Go over don't look at just your options, look at their options, look at other people's options. I was very observant the entire game on who was talking to who, and I saw Megan talking to Angela and Lauren a lot. I just truly thought that they were gonna stick with me at least one more vote. That the final 7 vote, I thought. So it's like, don't get comfortable. Don't think you have anything set in stone. And that's something I think I would definitely go back and tell myself. Because that's the one time I felt comfortable. Not comfortable. Like I always prepared myself to go home. If I was ever so sure that my plans were going to fall in place, it was that one. And that was my downfall.
What's a memorable moment just at camp, maybe that wasn't caught on live stream, that you'll always remember?
So it was before the Megs vote. We all just sat around. We should have been scrambling. Keenan's doing impressions. We're all having fun. Like it was a moment where we should have been probably playing a little harder. Maybe some more than others could have. But like we were just listening to Keenan do impressions, like I said, of like Gilbert Gottfried, other Survivor players. We were just having fun in the moment. We were genuinely happy to be there. And like that original Yellow tribe, even though there seemed to be alliances within alliances, we all got along. We all had a good vibe in that camp. And like those first couple days, like I really enjoyed. And just the camaraderie there, because we're all excited to be there, and it's just, I think those first couple of days were awesome.
I guess my last question is, would you do another live game?
No.
You're one and done.
I'm one and done. And I say that, and people might call bullshit on it. That's fine. I said it to some people yesterday. We were on that call. They call bullshit. I say that because this experience for me, I checked off a lot of things I've wanted to do. I've always wanted to play.
Mhm.
I watched this since season 3 live. It was my first season, and says people don't believe me because I lie too much. I've made that reputation, but like this experience, like I feel like this game is the top game, and that's no insult to other games.
Mhm.
So obviously, I've never played them. I don't know, but for me, I feel like I got everything I wanted
Mhm.
out of this, and I feel like this is just like this. I could have done. I could have won absolutely, but I feel like I've played how I wanted to play in a game situation. It wasn't perfect. I
Mhm.
had to adapt when I did, but I just feel like I got what I needed. I don't need to really do any more. I'm happy with how it ended up.
Well, Storm, is there anything else about your season or your game you want to bring up and talk about?
I think this cast was awesome. Like I said, as soon as I got home, I print out this merch picture. I get it on my wall. I got, the final 3 seat, Bash, Angela, and I got the whole cast merch right there. I think that we all meshed really well together. I think this was a phenomenal casting job. And I didn't think after such harsh, everybody was here to play, which I appreciated. But like, I feel like there was so much respect between everybody.
Mhm.
There was a little bad blood with Casey and I there, but we talked about it, and we're fine now. We talked. We always have respect. I just think he didn't fully see my side. But besides that, everybody kind of respected each other, and we all talked about it openly. Like we were talking Final 8, and one of us was going to go home. We talked about how awesome everybody was. It's just like it was a different feeling. It wasn't like it was a competition. It felt like a competition among like legitimate friends, which I really appreciated. It made the experience that much better.
Well, Storm, I just want to say thank you so much for taking 2.5 hours of your life to kind of run through your game and your experience. I really appreciate you doing that time. And for those who listen today, thank you so much for tuning in. You are the first of many interviews to come, hopefully. I will be talking with Keenan tomorrow, and then throughout the week, I'll be catching up with Angela, James, and Drew. And then in the future weeks, I have Lauren, Megan, and Josh scheduled, and I'm reaching out with Sharif, and I need to reach out to Barbara as well to schedule them. So a lot more interviews to come. Hopefully they all won't be 2.5 hours, but this is a fun way to kick it off and really kind of get me oriented and kind of figure out questions to ask future people as well. So thank you, Storm, for doing this with me.
Absolutely. If I got things wrong, there may have been some things I've gotten mixed up. If I'm wrong, tell me.
Hey, 17 players, 17 perspectives, 17
Exactly.
stories, right? That's how it is on the day.
Absolutely.
So again, Storm, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you all tomorrow when I have Keenan here.
I can't wait for that one.
It will be fun. I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, everyone.